Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 12th episode of the story, where Naruto is raised by Jiraya and Tsunade. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. Choji started to open his eyes as consciousness slowly returned to him. The feeling of extreme weakness that made him black out was being replaced by a more comfortable sensation as his energy slowly, but surely, returned to his body. There was an audible sigh. "Thanks Kami, he's waking up," Shikamaru's voice said. Choji tried to stand up, but a small pair of hands held him in place. "Don't move," Tamaki's voice stated. "Don't worry, I'm almost done here. Thankfully your wounds weren't too severe. But we need to do something about your exhaustion," somebody he recognized as Shino stated. True to the Aburame's words, he only took a couple more minutes to heal Choji, prompting Tamaki to release him. She then handed him something he recognized as a ration bar. "Here, eat," Tamaki told him. "Shikamaru said that you need to recover your lost calories. Sorry I don't have anything better." However, Choji wasn't in the mood to reject anything, and welcomed the bar with open arms. "It's okay, thanks a lot," Choji replied, as he started to eat the bar. "It's a good thing you found us, or else Choji would be a goner," Shikamaru mentioned, not hiding his immense relief. "How did you find us, by the way?" Choji asked. "I had one of my beetles latched onto each one of you. Said beetles can release a specific pheromone impossible to smell except to others of its kind. That way I'm able to track all of you," Shino explained. Both Shikamaru and Choji had to resist the urge to look their bodies for the aforementioned bug. "So, I'm guessing that you got to fight other of those Oto ninja, and given that you're here, you won, right?" Shikamaru asked. Tamaki nodded affirmatively. "Yeah, albeit barely. And they said the two we fought were the weakest. I can't even think what the others are up against," Tamaki wondered aloud, as she looked into the distance. "Wonder if Kiba is okay, should we go and try to help the others?" Shikamaru asked. Shino shook his head. "That would be mostly unwise. We just spent most of our energy fighting, some, like Choji, to the point of collapse. Far from being of any help, we'd be a burden." "Troublesome," Shikamaru sighed. The Aburame then perked up. "Somebody's coming." Everybody minus Choji shot up, pulled out their weapons, and slipped into a fighting stance. "It seems that if we don't go to the fights, the fight will come to us," Tamaki complained, as she inwardly prayed for this new enemy not to be too tough. However, the tension was immediately diffused, and replaced by relief, when the would-be enemies turn out to be Kakashi and Guy, being led by Pakken. "Kakashi-sensei!" Tamaki squealed in joy as she rushed to meet him. "Thank goodness. Reinforcements at last," Shikamaru said, as he allowed himself to drop on his butt. "Strong reinforcements, might I add?" Guy asked the most obvious, yet fitting question that the situation demanded. "What happened here?" "We already know about the Hokage's children's abduction. Naruto told Kurenai through a shadow clone, and she told us," Kakashi interjected, "so they wouldn't have to start from the beginning. The kidnappers are a group of 5 Oto ninja. Some of them stayed behind in order to delay us. Choji and I fought one, while Shino and Tamaki defeated another, meaning that so far, only 3 remain," Shikamaru quickly explained. "However, the 2 we defeated were the weakest members of that squad. Our partners will have a much harder time against them than we did," Shino added. "Kakashi-sensei, Kiba is still out there. You need to find him and help him," Tamaki pleaded. "I smell both him and Akamaru," Pakken mentioned. "He's not far away from here. In that case, there's no time to waste." "Guy, can you take care of these 4? the copy ninja asked. Guy would have preferred to check on his students, but this was a more pressing responsibility. Kakashi and the others would have to take care of them. He gave Kakashi his trademark nice guy pose. You can count on that, Kakashi. I'll make sure they return to the village safe and sound. Guy energetically declared. The village? It is safe to return? Shino asked. Indeed. The unyouthful invaders have been successfully repelled, once again proving that nothing can topple Konoha's steel-hard resolve. Can we go back now? Shikamaru awkwardly asked. Meanwhile, Naruto and his remaining friends continued the chase. Even if their numbers have been reduced to less than half of how many they started this impromptu rescue mission, 7 was more than enough to deal with the last remaining kidnapper, no matter how strong he was. Or at least, that's what Naruto liked to think. The scenario in which he failed to save his siblings was something he didn't dare to even think. Naruto-kun, Hinata called, almost in a whisper. When Naruto looked at her, she shot him a caring smile. Don't worry, everything will be fine. Naruto smiled back at her. He was so grateful to have somebody like her at his side in such a dire moment. Yes, he needed to stay positive. He then looked at Karen. "Ne-chan, how far until we reach that scumbag?" Naruto asked. Not far. He's moving slower than us. We'll catch him in no time, Karen announced. We better get ready, then, Sasuke stated, as his hand instinctively reached the handle of his katana. Wait! Karen suddenly said, startling the other 6. Something wrong? Haku asked. The man stopped. I think he's done running and plans to fight all of us. Karen informed. This is a golden opportunity, Tenten interjected. Naruto, when we fight the guy, you go and rescue your siblings. Then run back to Konoha. We'll cover you as long as we can. That's a sound plan. Even if he can do clones of any kind, there's no way he can fight on multiple fronts, Naruto replied. Wait. Karen called again. I'm sensing somebody else. He's in front of the kidnapper. It seems as if they're talking. We must assume this new ninja is an enemy if the two of them didn't engage in battle, Hinata stated. As she came closer, her Byakugan finally spotted Kimimaro, and the mysterious man he was talking to. She gasped. Hinata-heim? Naruto asked, mildly concerned. Kimimaro had stepped out of the dense forest, and landed in a green, clear expanse with few trees and a large lake, when he was stopped in his tracks when a man appeared before him. The newcomer also had white hair like Kimimaro, and unlike Kimimaro, he was sporting an incredibly smug smile on his face. He guessed the man was an ally, given that he was wearing the Otogekure standard uniform, but then again that could be a trick from the enemy. Hey there, going somewhere? The stranger asked. Who are you? Kimimaro asked, not lowering his guard for a minute. A friend, if you can't tell by the clothes, the man replied, apparently finding Kimimaro's lack of trust amusing. Name's Mizuki, by the way. Orochimaru-sama left me here in case you guys were in trouble. And given that you lost your whole squad, it seems that you are. And you came here to help me? The shirtless man asked. It should be obvious, isn't it? Mizuki replied, as he walked over, tensing up the Kagaya clan member. Relax, like I said, I'm a friend. Listen, there's not much time. I know you're way stronger than I am, so you must stay here and fight your pursuers. I'll take the children to the base. Then you take the Jinchuriki once you kill the others. How I know that you're telling the truth? Kimimaro asked. You don't know. But you don't have much of a choice now, Mizuki replied, looking at something behind the Sound 5 leader. Not lowering his guard, Kimimaro turned around, and saw Naruto and his 6 remaining friends landing a few meters in front of him. Mizuki-sensei? Tenten asked in surprise. He isn't your sensei anymore. He's with Orochimaru now. Did I tell you when my team fought against him in the Land of Sound? Haku reminded his girlfriend. You did, but the idea of one of our teachers being a traitor was a bit hard to digest, Tenten replied. I doubt you'd be able to fight so many ninja, even if they're children, and keep them from taking the hostages back, don't you? Mizuki asked. Kimimaro hated to admit it, but he had no choice. He handed the children to Mizuki. If you screw the mission, I'll personally kill you, the white-haired young man threatened in a rather cold and emotionless tone. Mizuki replied with an unnerving chuckle. I'm sure we won't have to get to such point. Mizuki took the still unconscious children and leaped away. No! Naruto yelled as he charged at the fleeing Mizuki. Shadow Clone Jutsu. An army of Narutos came to life, but that wouldn't be enough. Kimimaro then slammed his hands in the ground. Dance of the Seedling Fern. A barrier of spiky bones emerged from the ground, impaling and dispelling most of the Naruto clones. Thankfully the real one was able to stop in time. Get out of the way! Naruto angrily shouted. Kimimaro remained impassible. I'm afraid I can't do that. Now! Naruto bellowed. His eyes turned red with slitted pupils. His cheek marks became bolder, as his teeth and nails grew sharper. A red aura started to appear around him. Summoning Jutsu. While Naruto charged against Kimimaro, Sasuke used the opportunity to summon a small hawk. Quickly, follow that man that's carrying 2 children. Sasuke ordered the small bird. The hawk caught affirmatively, and took off. Kimimaro raised his head to look at the speeding bird. Sasuke started to sweat. If he destroys my summon, then we won't have a way to track where did Mizuki go. Sasuke distressingly thought. But much to his relief, Kimimaro ignored the bird, and looked at the 7 Konoha ninja once again. Naruto shared that same relief. He looked at Sasuke and shot him a grateful smile. Good one, Sasuke, Naruto thanked him. Sasuke just smirked at him in return, before turning his gaze back at the present threat. You were 15 at the beginning, yet 7 of you still remain. The strongest 7, I presume, Kimimaro began. My teammates did a poor job at whittling down your numbers. But it doesn't matter anymore. Your path ends here. Listen, we still can salvage this, Tenten said. The moment he is distracted, Naruto and a couple others should leave and follow Mizuki. Very well. I will go first and test the strength of our opponent, Lee suggested. Alright, but take your weights off first. According to Karen, this opponent is near as strong as our Jonin-sensei, Tenten told him. But Gai-sensei told me to dash, Lee attempted to protest. Gai-sensei's not here, and in his absence, I'm your direct superior. So take off your weights, that's an order, Tenten sternly stated. Lee decided to obey, and did what he was asked to. He removed the weights under his leg warmers, and held them on each hand with their arms spread. Then, he dropped the training tools, falling into the ground with a deafening noise, leaving 2 craters at his sides. Everybody looked at the weights in shock. Lee, what kind of self-imposed handicap did you have when we fought? Haku thought, doing a better job masking his shock than everybody else. Kimimaro wasn't impressed, though. He slipped into a combat stance, ready to take whatever the Konoha ninja threw at him. Which happened to be a flying kick. Konoha Whirlwind. The shirtless teen managed to block Lee's admittedly powerful flying kick without much difficulty, and pushed the green-clad ninja backwards. However, other 2 Konoha ninjas attacked while he was doing that. Fire Release, Great Fireball Jutsu. Lightning Release, Thunderbolt. Sasuke breathed a huge fireball at Kimimaro while Hinata cast a storm of lightning from her fingertips. The Oto ninja jumped out of the way before he could be hit, and aimed his hands at both Uchiha and Hyuga. 10-finger drilling bullets. A bone bullet was fired from each of his fingers, 5 flying towards Sasuke and the other 5 towards Hinata. The former used his Sharingan to dodge, if barely, the attack, while the latter thrust both palms forward. Vacuum palm wall. Hinata released massive vacuum shell that crashed against the bullets, but it failed to stop their momentum, and the bone projectiles embedded on Hinata's chest. Hinata! Naruto yelled in shock. But much to his relief, Hinata disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving a shattered log behind. Shit, Karen-nichan wasn't exaggerating when he said this guy is strong. If we aren't careful, this freak might kill us all. Naruto distressingly thought. I had heard so much about your clans, Uchiha and Hyuga, Kimimaro began. But if you're the best your clans can offer, then Konoha had even less of a future than I had imagined. Lee suddenly appeared from behind, and delivered a quick kick to Kimimaro's head, throwing him sideways. The Kaguya managed to regain balance and land on his feet, though. Not bad, but insufficient, Kimimaro replied, as spiky bones began to grow over all of his body. Dance of the Larch. Kimimaro's body fired the bone spikes in multiple directions, many of them flying right towards the Konoha ninja. Karen and Haku were quick to react and defend. Earth release, earth-style wall. Ice release, ice barrier. Two walls, one made of solid rock, the other of deceptively hard ice, appeared between Kimimaro and the Konoha ninja. The bone missiles managed to pierce both walls, but they lost enough momentum to be safely deflected with mere kunai. Shadow Clone Jutsu. From behind the destroyed walls, an army of blondes appeared and charged at the white-haired teen, letting out cries of rage. Once again, Kimimaro remained impassible. Dance of the Camellia. A pair of bone swords grew from each of Kimimaro's palms, detaching from his hands once they were complete, and rushed to meet the orange-clad army. And, despite their sheer numbers, the Naruto clones were overwhelmed by the speed, endurance and skill of the white-haired teen, who massacred the clones before either of them had a chance to lay a finger on him. Shit, this guy is way too strong. Naruto thought as he felt his clones disappearing en masse. While Kimimaro was distracted fighting the clones, Tenten saw a golden opportunity to attack, and leaped above the brawl while unfurling one of her scrolls. Naruto, get the real you out of the way. Tenten warned while she prepared her attack. Manipulated tools, rain of steel. The scroll unsealed a multitude of kunai and shuriken at a fast pace, casting a rain of metal over the battlefield. However, the attack was of little help, as it mostly destroyed the Naruto clones, while Kimimaro easily deflected the weapons aimed at him with his improvised swords while he moved backwards. Tenten. Naruto angrily shouted at the brown-haired girl. Tenten smiled sheepishly. Sorry. Haku moved to attack. If Kimimaro managed to deflect everything they threw at him, then they needed to use something that would be impossible to deflect. He made several hand seals. Ice release, winter breath. From his mouth Haku released an extremely cold wind that froze everything it touched. Kimimaro couldn't react in time, and he was engulfed by the dense blue mist, encasing him in a block of ice. Yay! Good one, Haku. Naruto cheered. Then, much to everybody's surprise, Kimimaro disappeared, leaving a log inside the block of ice. Everyone, he's underground. Watch out. Hinata warned the others. As soon as the warning left her lips, multiple bone spikes started to sprout from the ground. The Konoha ninja moved as fast as they could in order to avoid them, but the more bones appeared, the less space they had to move. Hinata-heim, where is he? Naruto asked as he dodged the incoming spikes. 15 steps to the front and 7 to the left, was Hinata's response. Naruto created a single shadow clone, which he used to help himself leap into the air as high as he could. While on air, he extended his hand, and made sure to fall in the spot Hinata had told him. Rasengan. The sphere of chakra released its energy into the ground, creating a massive crater, as well as cracking the ground in multiple directions. The attack had the intended effect, and Kimimaro was forced to leave his underground hiding spot. Sasuke appeared from behind, katana unsheathed. Fire release, burning edge. Kimimaro barely had time to grow several spikes on his back which successfully blocked the fiery blade. He counterattacked by growing them even longer, forcing Sasuke to put some distance between the two of them. I admit you're strong. And your numbers make me fighting you quite more difficult than it should be, Kimimaro confessed. But you should also know that I'm only using a fraction of my real power. Then why not go all out and finish us already? Sasuke tentatively asked. While I admit you're strong, you're not strong enough to be deserving of my best moves, Kimimaro retorted, causing Sasuke to snarl. But keep trying, and I might reward you with the strength of my full power. Adamantine sealing chains. Before Kimimaro could react, many chains wrapped around his body. He wasn't perturbed, as mere chains couldn't be able to hold him back. However, the moment he tried to use his trusty bloodline limit, he found himself unable to gather chakra. What? Ha! Reward that! Karen shouted in a taunting tone. Kimimaro could see that the chains were coming from the girl's back. While Kimimaro was being held, Haku made more hand seals. Ice release, ice prison jutsu. The chained Kaguya was encased in a large block of ice. Yes, we got him. Good work you two. Naruto congratulated both Karen and Haku. Well, we couldn't have done it if you didn't oh shit. Karen suddenly shouted. What's going on? Sasuke asked, mildly alarmed. The guy's chakra level is rising. Karen warned. He will break out of the ice and my chains at any moment. What? Tenten asked in shock. How's that possible? She's right. There's a foul chakra that's empowering his chakra network. Hinata added. Guys, you need to go, now. Tenten urged the others. I'll stay here and help Haku and Karen hold this guy down. But you can't do that. This opponent is way stronger than any other foe we ever faced. Lee protested. We'll be fine. Naruto-kun will need you far more than we will, Haku reassured. Now go, time is of essence. Without some hesitation, Naruto, Hinata, Sasuke and Lee left their three comrades to deal with the insanely strong Kaguya member. Alright, but don't you dare to get killed by this guy, you hear me? Naruto asked before leaving. Karen smiled. Don't worry, Nii-san. I'm not planning to die today, and I don't think these two do either. Let's head up north, that's where their hideout must be. Sasuke stated as he started to move, followed by the other three. My hawk should have located its exact position by now. Alright, let's go. Sasuke, Lee, follow my and Hinata's lead, we've been here before and know which path to take, Naruto suggested. The others nodded and resumed their pursuit, not without having a lingering feeling of guilt about leaving their other three friends behind against such a powerful enemy. And, indeed, after a few seconds, there was a burst of a very potent chakra that shattered Haku's ice block and Karen's chakra chains. Kimimaro stood there, with his stoic expression unchanged, looking at the three Konoha ninja with his dull eyes. There were black marks spreading over his body. Congratulations. Very few people push me to the extent of being forced to use the cursed seal, Kimimaro stated. It will be of some consolation to know that at least you accomplished something before dying. Can you walk? Ino asked. Yeah, I feel a bit better now, Sakura replied, as she weakly got back on her feet. So, we beat those guys, what do we do now? Should we help the others? Ino scoffed. Honestly, it's us the ones who need to be helped. I still can't believe that we beat those creepy twins. As much as Sakura wanted to help the others, Ino had a point. In their current state, they would be of little help. How do you think the others did? Ino asked, a bit insecurely. I mean, I have faith in them, but we should have seen them already if they won their fights. Well, we won, and we can barely move. Maybe the others are in a similar predicament, Sakura replied. Besides, we didn't see those Oto ninja either. Suddenly, that moment, there was a rustling in a nearby bush. Sakura and Ino tensed up, and adopted fighting stances. Sakura, if it's one of those Oto ninja, I swear I'm going to dash, arf. Ino was interrupted upon seeing Akamaru's small form running towards her. The little dog started to run in circles around the two girls, letting out happy barks. Soon, he was joined by Kiba, Niji, Asuma and Kurenai. Look, here they are, Kiba mentioned. Good job finding them, Akamaru. Arf, the doggy happily barked as he returned to his master's side. Asuma-sensei. Ino squealed in joy, and rushed to hug him. Oh, I'm so glad that you're here, I'm happy to see you in one piece as well, Asuma commented, taking a look at his student. It seems that you two got roughed up a bit. That's putting it lightly, Sakura sourly added. What about Shikamaru and Choji? Are they alive? Ino worriedly asked. Yes, they're fine. One of Kakashi's dogs told us that Kakashi and Guy found them, alongside Shino and Tamaki. Kurenai was the one who replied. What about the others? They resumed the chase of the kidnappers. Well, kidnapper, only the squad leader remains, Ino told them. Even if he might be the strongest of the group, there's no way they can defeat the rest of our friends, especially since Naruto and Sasuke were among them. Seeing the two jonin there made Sakura realize of something. Hey, what about the village? Did we beat the invaders? The Pinkette asked. Yes, the invasion is no longer a problem. Orochimaru and his flunkies had been successfully repelled, Asuma told them, making everybody unaware of the news. Sigh in relief. Maybe this day won't turn so bad after all, Sakura replied. We'd better not celebrate in advance. The children of the Hokage haven't been rescued yet, Kurenai reminded everybody. Kiba, Niji, take Ino and Sakura back to the village. Asuma and I will try to catch Naruto and the others. Understood, Niji agreed with a head nod, as he and the other three genin turned back to the village, while the two jonin went into the opposite direction. As they moved to the north, Asuma noticed that Kurenai was becoming more and more tense by the minute. The fact that they hadn't found none of her students was probably eating her from the inside. I'm sure they will be fine, Asuma stated, drawing his girlfriend's attention. Your students are way stronger than mine, and mine managed to come out of their fights alive. I try to think that, but you can never be too certain, Kurenai replied. Not helped since the three of them, especially Naruto, have something that makes them desirable prey for scum of the earth like Orochimaru. Well, Orochimaru was in Konoha. Hokage-sama fought and defeated him. He won't be a threat to Naruto nor the others anytime soon, Asuma reassured her. Actually, that might not be the case. I think there's something more to this invasion than what it looks like. Kurenai replied. Asuma raised an eyebrow. Well, yes. He planned to use the invasion as a cover to kidnap the Hokage's children. So even if the invasion failed, he'd still get something out of it, Asuma replied. Yes, but remember what Naruto told us. Kabuto could have easily defeated and took him away, yet he told him about what happened to his siblings. Asuma was starting to realize the implication of Kurenai's words. Because he knew he'd do anything to get them back, including going out of the village, where he would be vulnerable and easy to capture while most of the adults are busy dealing with the invasion, Kurenai finished. Now Asuma understood Kurenai's worries much better, since they went far beyond merely caring for her students. Fortunately, there still might be some time to stop such thing from happening, Kurenai stated. Asuma nodded, and the two of them increased their pace. Wait a minute, Haku said, as if remembering something. Those abilities I knew I heard about them. You're a Kagaya clan member, right? Yes. It seems my clan's reputation is known even in countries beyond the land of water, Kimimaro confirmed. I thought all your clan went extinct when they launched that nonsensical campaign against the rest of the nation, Haku commented. True. But as you can see, at least one of them made out of that catastrophe alive, the white-haired teen replied. The same could be said about you, Yuki. Orochimaru-sama thought your clan fell prey to the bloodline purges, but it isn't the case. I would have died with the rest of my clan if it wasn't for the actions of a certain man, Haku replied. In that case, then we are alike. It was Orochimaru-sama who saved me from a certain doom and gave me a purpose. Now, to show him my gratitude, I serve and help him in every way I can. And he will be very happy when I bring him the last bearer of the ice release. Kimimaro then glanced at Karen, who tensed up upon being noticed. And you, that red hair, and that Jutsuri and Uzumaki, right? Orochimaru-sama also expressed interest in getting his hands in one of your kind. The three Konoha ninja found his words sickening. While other Oto ninja would do that to seek a reward from the snake Sannin, it seemed that Kimimaro did it just to make his master happy, something they had trouble deciding if it was worse or not. Kimimaro finally looked at Tenten. You, on the other hand, appear to be completely unremarkable. Your death won't be a big loss. Haku's nostrils flared in anger and was about to reply, but his girlfriend was quicker. How about if I show you how unremarkable I can be, the bun-haired girl taunted, before crossing her arms in front of her face. Gate of opening, open. Powerful surges of chakra coursed Tenten's body as she was enveloped by a glowing green aura. She then unfurled a small storage scroll and unsealed a couple of broadswords. Alright, I'll face this guy in close combat. Karen, Haku, you two cover me from behind with ninjutsu, Tenten stated. Both genin nodded affirmatively as they prepared to fight. Tenten disappeared in a green blur, and reappeared behind the Oto ninja, ready to strike him down. Kimimaro, though, was already expecting this. Dance of the Willow. Multiple bone spikes grew from Kimimaro's back, parrying Tenten's blows, and forcing the kunoichi back. Karen and Haku took the opportunity to attack. Adamantine sealing chain. Ice release, piercing icicle shot. Haku formed a spear of ice which flew at Kimimaro, while Karen shot a chakra chain from the palm of her hand. Dance of the Camellia. Two more bone swords grew from Kimimaro's hands, and used them to parry the attacks from Haku and Karen. He then turned back and engaged Tenten in a duel of sword fighting. Despite his lithe appearance, Kimimaro had a lot of strength, albeit the brown-haired kunoichi guessed that those black marks around his body had something to do with it. She jumped backwards in order to have some room for her next move. She spread her arms horizontally, and started to spin. Raging Blade Storm. In a few seconds, Tenten turned into a razor-sharp tornado, menacingly moving towards Kimimaro. Oto ninja tried to block her attack with his improvised swords, but he underestimated the strength of the kunoichi's attack, and his bone swords were blown out of his hands, and even got a few cuts on his chest before jumping back. Water release, water clone jutsu. Shadow clone jutsu. Multiple Karens and Hakus appeared around the original, spread in a semicircle around Kimimaro, and started to pelt the last Kaguya with Senbon and kunai. Kimimaro merely grew more bones on his back and shoulders which managed to block the incoming projectiles. Forgetting about Tenten, Kimimaro dashed towards the clones, generated two more bone swords, and started to skewer them with little effort. I think I should take care of your first, Kimimaro stated as he impaled a Haku clone, turning back into water. You two are ranged specialists, plus I'm sure one of you is also a medic nin. Don't worry, I won't hurt you much. After destroying the last Karen clone, he moved to incapacitate the real redhead, who prepared to deliver an hilariously telegraphed kick. Kimimaro proceeded to block her kick, and then knock her unconscious. However, Karen's kick packed far more force than her small form suggested, almost like being kicked by a large beast. Coupled with how little strength he mustered to block the attack, Karen's savage kick sent him into the air, spinning rapidly, before falling with a loud thud. Too bad I'm going to hurt you as much as I can, you creep. Karen retorted, as she shook her fist at him in anger. How is that girl so strong? Kimimaro asked as he slowly got back on his feet. That looked like Tsunade's famed chakra-enhanced strength, but there's no way that little girl could have been able to master it. Nice hit, Haku praised the Uzumaki. But now that he got a measure of your real strength, you won't hit him as easily. Tenten landed near the two of them. Her green aura was no longer active, meaning that the power boost from the gates had run its course. It seems that if we ever hope to harm this guy, frontal attacks are not a valid option. But we can do some damage by catching him off guard, Tenten told the genin. Do you have any idea, Tenten-chan? Haku asked. Tenten smiled confidently, and nodded. Haku, cover the whole zone with mist. Karen, use your sensing abilities to track him down. Let's stick together, and attack at the same time when the right time comes. The two genin nodded, and Haku made a hand seal. Hiding in the mist jutsu. A dense mist started to cover the area in a wide range, blinding all who were caught inside. Kimimaro remained unimpressed at his enemy's new strategy. I can't help but admire your tenacity and inventiveness in the face of a superior foe, Kimimaro stated, as he looked around. But in the end, the result will be the same. Yeah, keep talking you overconfident dumbass, that way you'll make my job even easier, Karen thought as she silently led her teammates where Kimimaro was. Because, even if I can't see you, all I have to do is use a jutsu with a wide area of effect to ensure you're hit, Kimimaro stated, sending chills down the spines of the Konoha ninja. Dance of the Seedling Fern. The ground started to shake, and bone spikes started to burst from below. The Konoha trio aborted their offensive and ran away in different directions, trying to avoid being skewered by the sharp and hard bone spikes. Karen managed to do several hand seals. Earth release, moving core. A square-shaped platform was elevated above the ground, wide enough for the three of them to stand. The bones kept popping from underground, but they didn't appear on the platform. However, they were so focused on the bones that they weren't paying attention to Kimimaro, who leaped towards them. Die. Kimimaro delivered Tenten a kick to the stomach which knocked her out of the risen platform, and would have fallen to her death if it wasn't for Karen's timely reaction. Adamantine sealing chains. Multiple chains emerged from Karen's back, and all of them wrapped themselves around Tenten's waist, successfully breaking her fall, albeit Karen was almost dragged down. Thanks. Tenten said from below, as she eyed the nasty-looking spikes. Hang on there. Karen replied. While this happened, Haku created a sword made of ice and faced Kimimaro in hand-to-hand combat. This proved to be an abysmal decision, if unavoidable, given the circumstances, as not only was Haku a poor melee fighter, while his opponent was a skilled one, but Kimimaro's bone swords easily destroyed Haku's ice blade. Your gift is wasted on such an unskilled individual, Kimimaro flatly stated as he delivered another brutal kick to the ice ninja's chest, sending him flying. Haku! Karen cried. Her first instinct was to help him, but she couldn't do it while carrying Tenten. While he was mid-air, Haku made one last attempt to save his life and made several hand seals. Hopefully he would be fast enough. Ice release. Demonic mirror ice crystals. An ice mirror appeared under Haku, and he was absorbed into it. Another mirror appeared at the edge of the field of bones, allowing Haku to land in a safe zone. Or at least, what he thought it was a safe zone. Impressive. You're resourceful indeed, Kimimaro's voice said from behind. Haku turned around, and saw the white-haired teen emerging from one of the spike bones in the ground. He can use his bones to travel, like I do with the ice mirrors? A surprised Haku thought, taking several steps backwards. A bone blade grew on Kimimaro's palm. Now, Kimimaro advanced menacingly towards Haku. I'll make sure you're properly incapacitated. Don't worry, I won't kill you. However, this won't be pleasant. In such short distance, Haku knew that there was nothing he could do to defend himself. Tenten and Karen wouldn't arrive in time to help him, and even if they did, they would only delay the inevitable. This ninja was way too strong. Dance of the Camellia. The bone blade lunged at him. Haku involuntarily closed his eyes, waiting for the stab. Clang! A metallic noise was something he wasn't expecting to hear. He opened his eyes, and saw a figure of a large man standing between him and Kimimaro. Said man was carrying a massive broadsword. "Lay a finger on that kid, and I'll put you through so much pain that you'd consider hell a paradise," the man threatened, as he released untold amounts of killing intent. "Zabuza-sama!" Haku cried in joy. Zabuza was able to kick Kimimaro backwards, who was still a bit stupefied over the newcomer's arrival. Karen and Tenten landed behind him. "Oh, thank goodness, some help at last." Karen squealed, just as happy as Haku. "You did a good job keeping this guy at bay, brats, but you're no longer needed. From now on, I'll take care of this," Zabuza stated as he slammed his sword into the ground. "Are you sure, Zabuza-sama? This ninja's strength is unlike anything I've seen before." "You may need our help," Haku objected. "I'm sure. It will be easier to fight without having you brats getting in the way." "Even then, I'm not much of a team fighter," Zabuza replied. "Now take those girls and go." "As you say, Zabuza-sama," Haku agreed, before running towards Tenten and Karen. "If you think I'm going to let you go," Kimimaro stated as he moved to intercept the fleeing Haku. However, it was the Kaguya who was intercepted, being forced to jump backwards to avoid a swing from Zabuza's blade. "I am your opponent, in case I didn't made that clear," the former demon of the mist snarled. "You don't have time to waste on such distractions." Haku reached Tenten and Karen, and the three of them left the scene, while Kimimaro had to watch, powerless to stop them. "I let all of them get past me. Sorry, Orochimaru-sama, I failed you. I hope my failure doesn't compromise the plan as a whole," the last Kaguya sorrowfully thought. He then turned at Zabuza, and looked at him in subdued anger. "You will pay for that." Zabuza snorted at the threat. "Somehow, I find that doubtful. I think I know you. You're Zabuza Momochi, the swordsman of Kiri currently working for Konoha," Kimimaro observed. Zabuza smirked under his mask. "I see you made your homework. Not that it will be of any help in the end, kid. Your profile of our bingo book states that you lack any kind of bloodline limit, hence Orochimaru won't have any use for you," Kimimaro flatly stated, then he eyed the executioner's sword. "Your sword, on the other hand, is something he'll appreciate." "You want my sword?" Zabuza asked, before letting out a short laugh. "I'd say that you'll have to pry it from my cold, dead fingers, but trust me, we won't reach such situation. I see you like to boast a lot. Let's see if you can back those boasts up with actual power," Kimimaro stated as he dashed towards Zabuza. Meanwhile, to the north, the rescuers group, now reduced to less than a third of its original number, continued their way through a route that was familiar to half of its members. As expected, the kidnappers are heading to the Land of Sound, Naruto observed. "Where Orochimaru has his main base. Do you know where it is?" Sasuke asked. "That would make things easier." "No," it was Hinata who replied. "We fought against his forces here, but were unable to track where they came from. Itachi was part of the investigation team sent here after your mission in order to locate the base, but he was unsuccessful," Sasuke commented. "Then are we going to find something a team of elite ninja failed to?" Lee asked, a bit worried. "Thankfully my hawk should have been able to do that by now," Sasuke replied. "Besides, I have the feeling that they want us to find their base. Or at least, they want Naruto." "I was already aware that this could be a trap," Naruto replied, knowing what Sasuke was implying. "But what else could have I done? Most of the adults were busy defending Konoha. It had to be us. Or at least, me. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, you won't have to this alone. You can always count on me to lend you a hand, and I'm sure that I speak for Hinata-san and Sasuke-san as well," Lee energetically declared. Naruto couldn't help but smile a little. The Valley of the End is ahead. We're getting close, Hinata told the others. The foursome entered the valley, half of them for the first time, and the other half for the second. While it didn't make much of an impression on Hinata and Lee, it made Sasuke feel uneasy. Even if he was an enemy of Konoha, this was the place where the greatest of the Uchiha had fallen. Sasuke was aware of his clan's history. While official history books depicted Madara as a power-hungry monster that took badly being passed for the title of Hokage in favor of Hashirama, Sasuke knew that the truth was a bit more complex. In the years leading to his defection, and subsequent attacks on the village, Madara was growing paranoid and disillusioned with both Konoha and the Senju clan that ruled it. He even tried to stir the Uchiha into throwing a coup d'état back then, but none of his clansmen listened to him, waving off his warnings about the clan's dark future as the ravings of a madman. It was tragic that eventually, the descendants of those Uchiha decided to follow Madara's posthumous advice. Then again, given the results, it was a good thing that the coup didn't happen earlier. Since Konoha was in its beginning stages, a civil war so soon would have torn the village apart. Is this the fate of the Uchiha? Sasuke asked himself. To be consumed by hatred and lust for power that will lead us to our damnation? Itachi and Shisui always talked about rebuilding the clan better than it ever was, without repeating the mistakes of the past. Even if it was a grim thought, the youngest Uchiha wondered if they were fighting against a force far beyond any human, no matter their power. Ugh! Sasuke was snapped of his thoughts by Naruto groaning, and clutching his stomach in pain. Naruto-kun. What happened? Are you okay? A worried Hinata asked as she rushed to his side. It's the Nine Tails, Naruto replied, breathing heavily. He hates this place. He hates it a lot. In that case, let's move faster, Sasuke suggested. The last thing we need is the Kyuubi going out of control. Fortunately, the valley was small, and soon they were out of it and into the land of sound. Naruto felt the Kyuubi growing more relaxed as they left the place away. What's with you and that place, you furball? Naruto mentally asked the Kyuubi. However, he was met with silence. Look! Hinata said, pointing upwards. Up there. Everyone could see Sasuke's hawk flying in circles over a point far to the northwest from their position. The hawk has located the base, the Uchiha announced. In that case, we need to get there as soon as possible. Kami knows what those assholes will do to my siblings. Naruto urged, growing more antsy and restless. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, we'll be there before they can harm them in any way, Hinata reassured her boyfriend. While Naruto and Hinata were focused on rescuing the Senju twins, Sasuke couldn't help but wonder what kind of enemy was waiting for them at Orochimaru's hideout. Given that the leader of the kidnappers, that guy with the killing bones, was so insanely strong, he shivered upon having to fight against somebody even stronger. He pushed those thoughts aside, realizing that letting fear consume him would be an ill-advised course of action. Undisclosed location raindrops fell upon Obito as he clutched Rin's inert body close to him. This is hell, the boy cried. Darkness and rain. It was a fitting image for Obito Uchiha, equating the darkness of his heart and the tears pouring from his eyes. He clutched the girl's corpse near him. Rin. It might not be my place to tell, Guru, the imperfect Zetsu temporarily fused to his body, mentioned, startling the young Uchiha a bit. But there's a chance that you might see Rin again. Obito stopped crying, and perked up his head. Really? He asked, his voice dripping with desperation. Just like Guru had expected. Yes, we can do something to make sure you see Rin again, Guru continued. What is it? Come on, there's no time to waste. Obito desperately pleaded. It's not that easy, Guru replied, much to Obito's dismay. It's a long and hard procedure, that demands a lot of effort and resources. If we are to do this, it has to be under one condition. Whatever. I'll do anything. Obito cried. You must become a servant of Madara-sama, and do absolutely everything he says. There's no other way, Guru stated. Yes. Yes. I'll do anything he wants. But please, help me save Rin. Obito pleaded. If Guru had a mouth, he would have smirked. Oh, Madara was going to be so pleased with this development. Alright then, listen closely, this is what we need to do first. Boss? Obito was a bit startled as Zetsu, who had emerged near him, called his name. Why yes, he absent-mindedly asked. The Hokage's children are here, Black Zetsu announced. What should we do with them? The white half asked. Leave them in one of the base's cells. We'll deal with them later, Obito replied with a dismissive hand wave. What about the Jinchuriki? He's on his way here. From what we could see, they managed to find the location of this lair, the white half answered. He will be here shortly, Black Zetsu added. Obito smirked. Good, we won't have to leave an obvious trail of breadcrumbs in order to lure him here. The Uchiha then put on his new mask, an orange one with an spiraling pattern. In that case, let's prepare him the welcome he truly deserves. Zabuza never thought that, during his stay in the Land of Fire, he'd run into and fight a fellow native of the Land of Water. The fact that he was from a clan believed to be extinct, albeit, for once, not due to the infamous bloodline purges, only added to his surprise, which he managed to keep carefully hidden thanks to his mental training. But then again, if 6 years ago somebody told him that he'd be working for Konoha, he'd laugh in that person's face. Fate is indeed a fickle mistress. Let me guess, is that Orochimaru forcing you to work for him? Zabuza asked. Kimimaro visibly frowned, offended at such suggestion. I serve Orochimaru-sama willingly. He gave my life a purpose, and I work for him in order to repay him. Unlike you, I'm not a slave. The fact that he sounded a lot like Haku made Zabuza feel oddly uncomfortable. I'm not a slave either. This is just a temp job, Zabuza replied, trying to save face. Kimimaro smirked a little, clearly amused. Sure. Keep telling yourself that. Anyway, not that it's going to matter, given that you're going to meet your end here. This time, it was Zabuza who smirked. Do you really think that you can take on a swordsman of the hidden mist, brat? You're strong, but you're way over your head. If that's the case, then let's check which one of the two is actually wrong, Kimimaro replied, as bone blades started to grow over several parts of his body. Dance of the Willow. The Kaguya charged at Zabuza, who raised his sword defensively. Upon reaching hand-to-hand combat, Kimimaro launched an onslaught of swipes with his bone blades, as well as the occasional punch and kick, forcing Zabuza into the defensive. Still, that didn't last long, since Zabuza managed to jump back a bit, putting enough distance between himself and Kimimaro's attack, but still close enough for his executioner's blade to reach the white-haired ninja. Now, it was Kimimaro on the defensive as he parried and dodged Zabuza's vicious attacks. Despite the sword looked, and was, rather heavy, on Zabuza's hand it appeared as if it was made of light plastic. Still, the last Kaguya could feel all the weight of the massive sword whenever the parried one of its brutal blows. Still think you measure up to me? Zabuza cockily asked, as he readied another sword slam. This time, instead of parrying, Kimimaro gracefully moved sideways, and taking advantage of Zabuza's precarious position, he dashed towards him and sunk one of his bone blades on Zabuza's side. His makeshift weapon managed to pierce the Jonin's flak jacket as if it was made of wet paper. I think I'm way better than you, Kimimaro retorted, violently pulling out the blade from Zabuza's flesh. But much to his shock, blood didn't come out of Zabuza's grievous wound, but water. Zabuza then smirked under his mask, before he turned into a puddle of water. A clone? Kimimaro lamely asked. I've been fighting a clone the whole time? Water release, water dragon jutsu. A massive dragon-shaped water construct blocked the sun above the Oto ninja. It let out a distorted roar, before coming down at him. Kimimaro expertly jumped backwards dodging the lunge, but the dragon then exploded into a shapeless torrent of water rushing at him. Kimimaro continued running and dodging the water as good as he could. A loud whirring sound alerted Kimimaro of the giant spinning sword flying at him like a deadly disc. At that speed, blocking it would be suicide, so he opted for dodging it. The blade passed beside him harmlessly, but that moment, Zabuza suddenly burst out of the water torrent, grabbed his sword and viciously assaulted Kimimaro. Water release, tsunami sword. All of the water of Zabuza's previous jutsu started to gather around his executioner's blade, forming massive, thick watery cover. The swordsman then slammed his sword forward, releasing all that water once again in the form of a destructive giant wave, albeit this time it was focused in a single direction. Kimimaro was unable to dodge it, and he was dragged away by the gigantic wall of water, before it slammed him down against the ground. "Say, what do you think about my abilities now, brat?" an amused Zabuza asked as he calmly walked towards the downed Kimimaro, dragging his sword, leaving a shallow furrow behind. "Still think you can kill me and take my sword for that sick master of yours?" Kimimaro didn't reply, and ignored Zabuza as he slowly started to get back on his feet. "You can still move?" Zabuza asked, genuinely surprised. "Wow. Most people would have most of their bones broken after such a hit." "If you aim to break my bones," Kimimaro slowly said, "then you're doing a fool's errand. My bones, I'm unbreakable." "Not all that surprising, given your abilities," Zabuza conceded. "However, just because your bones are unbreakable, doesn't mean that the rest of you are. The human body has plenty of spots that guarantee an instant kill." "I admit that you're way stronger than I had guessed," Kimimaro replied. "But you're not strong enough to defeat me. I'll make sure to enjoy this. An opponent that forces me to go all out is something I don't see every day." Kimimaro's marks around his body started to glow as if they were made of fire, and they started to spread to the rest of his skin. His skin went from pale white to grayish-brown. His hair grew longer, and huge bone spikes started to grow across his back. He also grew a large bone-spiked tail, which gave him a somewhat reptilian appearance. His eyes turned yellow with black sclera, and two curved black markings appeared under his eye. Behold the full power of Orochimaru-sama's cursed seal of earth, one of his two most powerful cursed seals, only given to the best of his servants, Kimimaro announced, as he spread his arms. Zabuza frowned in disgust. "You disappoint me, brat. You are strong, very strong for your age. Yet instead of becoming more powerful on your own, you borrow power from others. I'm afraid to say you've already lost. Your logic is flawed. Power is still power, no matter where it comes from," Kimimaro retorted. "I exist to carry out Orochimaru-sama's will, and I'll use any tool that makes that job possible." Zabuza smirked. Of course, somebody whose entire purpose in life is to serve another would think that. "Let me show you then the power of the future Mizukage." Zabuza and Kimimaro rushed towards each other, ready to go all out, and show who's truly the strongest. Much further to the north, in the land of sound, Naruto, Hinata, Sasuke and Lee were deep into enemy territory, jumping from one tree to another, until they saw an expanse a few hundred meters in their general direction. Coming out of the forest into the vast green expanse, the four ninja noticed what appeared to be a small town not far from their position. A town that was rather familiar to half of the group members. "Hey, Naruto-kun, isn't that?" Hinata asked. "Sawa Town?" "Yeah, I believe so," Naruto replied before Hinata could finish her question. "You know that place?" Lee asked. Hinata nodded. "It was our first C-rank mission. We had to protect that town from bandits. However, turns out said bandits worked for Orochimaru, and soon we found ourselves fighting something far greater than we could deal with. Kinda like now, if you think about it," Naruto sourly added. "However, the town appears to be deserted," Sasuke noted, as he looked around. "It is. The town was the last remnant of the old land of the rice fields, Hinata continued her explanation. We were forced to evacuate their villagers and escort them to the Land of Fire before Orochimaru's forces could attack. We barely made it out of there in one piece. Even with the tactical squad's help, if we took a little longer to reach the border and meet Konoha's reinforcements, Naruto shuddered upon recalling that memory. I don't want to imagine what could have happened. Yet here we are, diving into enemy territory, with no chances of reinforcements, Lee observed. Albeit he sounded as his usual excited self, as opposed to somebody more prone to worry. All of Orochimaru's forces are fighting in Konoha. Honestly, I doubt we'll face that much resistance, Naruto replied. Still, it would be wise to be prepared. I'm sure that Orochimaru left somebody to guard your siblings once they're delivered to his lair, Hinata wisely told him. Whoever are the poor bastards who were tasked with such job, I'll make them regret accepting it, Naruto darkly replied. When they reached the town, the group took a couple seconds to take a look at it. The town didn't look any different to Naruto and Hinata than when they were there for the first time, even if some signs of being abandoned for some time were present. The silence of the zone did nothing but contribute to the already eerie atmosphere. Hinata, Sasuke called her. Some of Orochimaru's men could use this place as a base, or at least a place to rest. Despite the statement tone, Hinata caught the implicit question, and shook her head in negation. With the exception of some small animals, the town is completely deserted, the Hyuga heiress replied. Either that, or Orochimaru's men found a way to fool the Byakugan. Despite the probabilities of such thing happening, it was still a distressing thought for the young Hyuga, as well as for pretty much her whole clan. Sasuke's hawk was still flying in circles above what appeared to be a thick forest zone. Of course, Orochimaru's lair would take advantage of that in order to remain hidden. They had thought that maybe Orochimaru could have occupied the capital. Thankfully it wasn't the case, since such city was located much farther. The return to the forest was a welcome change, mostly since they could now leap from one branch to another and increase their travel speed significantly. And even if the lush trees covered the skies almost completely, preventing the Konoha ninja from seeing the hawk, they knew in which direction the bird was. Plus only the boys had this problem, as Hinata could still see the bird. Unfortunately for Hinata, her earliest fears were about to come true. While so far it was impossible for an actual person to become invisible to the Byakugan, it was possible to make seals that would hide certain objects from its gaze, something Jiraya had already did many years in the past, but kept it a secret. Such as explosive tags. And unbeknown to them, they entered a zone that was covered in them, with added seals to make them pretty much undetectable. The zone was also covered in pressure seals connected to the explosives, and the moment Naruto unwittingly stepped on one of them, the group was surrounded, and almost engulfed, by deafening explosions. Naruto and Sasuke, who were heading the group, were launched high into the air in the direction they were heading, while Hinata and Lee were hurled backwards. A mighty tree painfully stopped them. Even if the hit blurred her vision a bit, Hinata's Byakugan spotted 4 figures entering the scene. An adult, and 3 young teens. 4 people she had already met once, one of them multiple times in Konoha. Well, look who's back in our turf, a muffled male voice stated. It seems that they didn't learn their lesson the first time, a haughty female voice added. Then let's make sure there won't be a next time, another clearer, male voice said. The sound Genin Hinata and her team had fought during their first C-rank mission was before her and Lee. Mizuki was standing behind them, smirking evilly at the 2 Konoha ninja. Behind them, there was a barrier of rocks and felled trees formed by the explosion, with Naruto and Sasuke at the other side. Hinata! Lee! Naruto yelled. I'm okay. Hinata shouted back, even if in reality the explosion had left her a bit shaken. Continue with the mission. Save your siblings. We will be okay. Lee added, sounding as positive as ever. After a few moments of hesitation, the 2 male Konoha Chunin decided to continue on their own, leaving Hinata and Lee alone with this new threat. So sweet, offering to stay behind so the Jinchuriki can save those brats. "So Konoha of you," Mizuki said in a mocking tone. He then slipped into a battle stance as he grabbed the Fuma shuriken from his back. "Too bad it won't do you any good." "Mizuki-sensei?" Lee asked in shock. The white-haired ninja looked at Lee, and raised an eyebrow. "Do I know you? Wait, were you one of my students?" "Oh well, it doesn't matter." "So it's true that you defected to Orochimaru's side," Lee continued. "Your flames of youth had to be barely embers to do such a despicable action." Yeah, I'm a traitor and all that. Can we skip that part this time?" "It becomes tiresome after a while," Mizuki flatly replied as he rolled his eyes. The Sound Genin prepared to attack. "Hinata, you're the Chunin. What do we do?" Lee asked, looking at the blueonette from the corner of his eye. It was rather jarring for Hinata to realize that she was in command now, even if they were just two of them. But still, Lee had a point. She was the Chunin, and thus she had to lead them to victory. She ran multiple scenarios through her mind, until she found one with the highest chances of success. Unfortunately, it forced her to make a decision that could haunt her for the rest of her life if things didn't turn out as planned. "Lee-san, I want you to fight Mizuki." "I'll deal with these three," Hinata whispered him. Lee turned at her incredulous, but ready to comply if necessary. "Are you sure? Mizuki used to be a Chunin back in Konoha, and am still a Genin. I know you're unsure, but I need you to keep distracted while I deal with the others. I already fought against them before, and know what I have to do to defeat them," Hinata insisted. Fortunately, Lee nodded. "Very well then, I'll do as you say." The green-clad ninja dashed towards the group of enemies. Zaku cast his palms forward. Decapitating air waves. The spiky-haired Oto Genin shot two powerful streams of pressured air and sound waves through the orifices in his palms at Lee. The Konoha Genin merely leaped above them, gracefully landing behind Mizuki. Before the traitor could turn back, Lee delivered a painful kick to the sides, sending him flying. "Sensei!" Kin called. "Kin, watch out!" Dosu called. The three of them saw Hinata dashing towards them, her palms crackling with electricity. She thrust her palm at Zaku, however, both he and his teammates managed to jump back in time, and Hinata ended up striking the ground with such power it created a crater. "Whoa," said Zaku in awe. "If I let that girl hit me, I don't remember her being that strong when we first fought her," Kin lamented. Their comments fueled Hinata's confidence, who, in an uncharacteristic display, allowed herself to smirk. "I trained a lot since the first time we fought. I faced enemies way stronger than any of you, helping me to improve in a way I couldn't think it would be possible," Hinata told the trio. Dosu frowned. Or at least, Hinata thought he did. It was hard to tell with all those bandages. "And you think we spend our time sitting on a couch doing nothing? You'll see now." Underground sound blast. Dosu slammed both palms into the ground, sending sound waves that tore the ground apart, forming large cracks, and shooting small but sharp rocks and pebbles into the air. "Ow!" Hinata yelped as she tried to dodge all the tiny but painful projectiles coming from below. "My turn," Kin stated, now a bit more confident, pulling several sunban on each hand. "Catch these." The black-haired girl tossed the needles at Hinata, who got ready to deflect them with the gentle fist. However, while she was busy doing so, Zaku aimed his open palms at the Hyuga heiress and prepared to attack. Decapitating air bullets. Zaku fired a quick barrage of compressed air projectiles, similar to the vacuum palm's vacuum shells, which Hinata was forced to run in order to avoid, since she knew such thing would be impossible to block. "They're cornering me. Even if I'm at a disadvantage here, I need to attack, not just defend," Hinata inwardly told herself. She eyed her opponents. The bandaged boy seems to be the only melee specialist. If I can bypass him, then the other two shouldn't be hard to deal with. Hinata's attack plans were disturbed when an array of Sanbon appeared out of nowhere and flied at her. The Blueonette yelped and jumped backwards, trying to avoid them. One stabbed into her arm, while another was stopped by her flak jacket. "Do you like my Echo Needle attack?" Kin asked. "I created that jutsu myself. It would be very careless of me if I only relied on genjutsu, right?" Hinata pulled out the Sanbon from her arm, and quickly healed the wound. So, like multiplying tools with the Shadow Clone Jutsu, but with a delayed effect to catch the opponent off guard. "I need to remember that," Hinata thought. "I admit it is sort of impressive," Hinata agreed, as she stared defiantly at the three of them. "You three did grow stronger since the last time we fought. But I have the feeling you're not admitting defeat, are you?" Dosu guessed, before letting out a chuckle. Hinata returned Dosu's chuckle with one of her own. "I didn't go this far by giving up." Vacuum wall palm. Thrusting both hands forward, Hinata projected a massive vacuum shell at the Oto Genin, wrecking the ground below as it traveled. Zaku stepped forward, eager to meet the attack head-on. His mouth formed a smirk of superiority as he raised his hands forward once more. "You think you impress us? That's nothing." Zaku scoffed. Decapitating air waves. Two streams of pressured air flowed through Zaku's hands once again, successfully slowing the vacuum shell to a halt, pushing back and forth with the Oto ninja's attack. Eventually the energy gathered by the clash reached critical point, and was released in the form of a respectable explosion of chakra and wind, raising clouds of dust that momentarily blinded the trio, forcing them to stand back to back in order to avoid being blindsided. However, that moment was enough for Hinata to vanish from the trio's sights. "Where did she go?" Kin asked, nervously looking around. "She couldn't have gone too far," Dosu calmly guessed. And indeed, Dosu's guess proved to be correct, since Hinata was much closer to them than what they imagined. Crackling electricity alerted them of a presence behind the three of them, but by that time it was too late. Lightning release, 8 trigrams, 32 thunder strikes. Hinata began a series of lightning-enhanced palm strikes against her opponents. 2 strikes. 4 strikes. 8 strikes. 16. Sonic boom. Dosu slammed his 2 melody gauntlets together, creating a sonic explosion at point blank at Hinata. Zaku and Kin were also caught in the area of effect, but they weren't as harmed. "Ow!" Zaku groaned, as he grabbed his head, while trying to fight the thankfully brief dizziness. "You could have warned us before doing that. We can't let a single opponent, much less a Konoha ninja, best us. So you better stop fooling around and put her in her place. Otherwise, we won't prove Orochimaru-sama of being worthy of his power." Hinata had also recovered, in no small part thanks to her healing abilities. That attack was sure something. "I'm still having trouble finding balance. But that confirmed my suspicions that the bandaged kid is the melee specialist," Hinata thought. "Okay, let's show this guys why I'm a Chunin." At the same time, while Hinata was facing the Sound Genin, Lee was fighting their sensei. Just as Hinata had gauged, his abilities were nothing Rock Lee couldn't handle without his weights on. Even if Mizuki's taijutsu, ninjutsu and skill with weapons was that of an average Chunin, Lee's taijutsu was beyond average. And in this word, is better to do one thing extremely well than do many things at a mediocre level. Konoha Whirlwind. Lee's foot connected with Mizuki's shoulder for the 3rd time in less than 2 minutes, sending the former teacher flying. What Mizuki thought would be easy picking was being far more challenging than he expected. "You're pushing my patience, brat," Mizuki growled, as he stood back on his feet for the 3rd time. Lee, however, remained impassible, much to the former teacher's chagrin. The fact that he only used taijutsu enraged him even more. "Take this then." Mizuki quickly formed several hand seals. Earth release, Earth Dragon bullets. The head of a dragon made of earth and stone emerged from the ground. It opened its jaws, releasing multiple projectiles of compressed earth and dirt. However, much to Mizuki's shock, rather dodging them or using some jutsu to counter them, Lee started to punch and kick them, shattering them in the process. This is similar to an exercise Guy-sensei made us do, Lee casually explained. Albeit he used a machine that shot rubber balls. Burning in anger, Mizuki dashed at Lee, Fuma shuriken in hand. You think you can humiliate me by fighting with nothing but taijutsu? I'll show you. Mizuki's Fuma shuriken was covered in flames the moment the white-haired ninja tossed it, turning into a fiery disc of death. Lee's legs prepared to jump above it, but Mizuki wasn't done yet. He did several hand seals. Shadow Clone Fire Shuriken Jutsu. In an instant, Lee found himself from facing a single disc of fire, to facing dozens of them, flying at different heights. Jumping was not an option. Instead, Lee decided to do something that would have him deemed a madman by his peers, but would have made his sensei unbelievably proud. Much to Mizuki's shock, Lee rushed towards the flaming shuriken. Displaying an astonishing speed, agility and reflexes, the green-clad ninja expertly dodged all of the flaming shuriken that flied close to him. His speed wasn't perfect, and sometimes they grazed his clothes and his skin, but aside from a minor burn, no damage was done. How? Mizuki mumbled, before he was snapped out of his trance by a painful punch to the face, making him lose balance and stumble back. He regained his senses soon after that. How? Why? Why you don't use ninjutsu to fight me? Are you so arrogant to believe that you can defeat me with taijutsu alone? I'm unable to use ninjutsu nor genjutsu, so taijutsu is the only fighting art I can use, Lee calmly explained. And even if it's not my intention to sound arrogant, so far I'm not doing that bad against you with taijutsu alone. Mizuki snarled, before a memory dawned upon him. Wait, I remember you. You're that freak who wanted to be a ninja despite not being able to use ninjutsu. You're Rock Lee. You remember my name? I'm honestly surprised, Lee stoically replied. How could I forget such a failure like you? Somebody that can't use ninjutsu, or at least genjutsu is not meant to be a ninja. But judging by your forehead protector, you somehow managed to pass. Mizuki shook her head in disappointment. So this is what Konoha became now. You guys give me every day more reasons to make me feel glad I decided to defect. Anyway, once Orochimaru-sama's plans come to fruition, Konoha will stop shaming the ninja world with its existence. Somehow, I find that as doubtful as you defeating me, Lee replied. You think I can't defeat you? Mizuki laughed. Oh, please. I've been only using a fraction of my power, but now, as Mizuki spoke, his body started to change. He grew bigger and more muscular, his skin turned maroon, his hair grew longer, his eyes turned yellow with black sclera, a pair of bone blades grew from the back of his hands, and 2 additional arms ended in sickle-like blades grew from his back. This is the power of Orochimaru-sama. The power that he bestowed me. And you're proud of a power that you didn't earn, that somebody just handed it to you? Lee replied, slightly disappointed. I'm not surprised that you don't believe I could become a ninja with taijutsu alone, if you disregard effort and hard work so easily. Now I will prove that my hard work will trump any borrowed power. Mizuki shook his head with a tisk-tisk, and chuckled. You're really deluded if you think you can defeat me like this. But I will be more than happy to give you a reality check. Get ready for the worst beating of your life. Mizuki roared as he charged forward. South of there, back in the grass expanse besides the lake, Zabuza and Kimimaro continued their duel, with neither of them gaining the upper hand over the other. Still, the power boost granted by the cursed seal was notable. Drilling bullets. Kimimaro fired 10 bony projectiles from each of his fingertips at Zabuza. The swordsman merely blocked them with his sword, ricocheting them into different directions. Then, he made several hand seals with a single hand, as his other hand was gripping the executioner's blade. Water release, Water Dragon Jutsu. Another large dragon made of water rose from the nearby lake. It let out a roar before diving at Kimimaro. The Kagaya ninja tried to outrun it, but was too slow and the dragon engulfed him, before it turned into a shapeless torrent that dragged him away. Or that's what Zabuza thought, since when the water receded, a heaving Kimimaro wasn't that far from his initial position, heaving and spitting some water. He had grew 2 bone spikes from his palms, and used them to anchor himself to the ground, thus preventing the water from dragging him away and slamming him against a hard surface. This time, he didn't even try to dodge it, Zabuza thought. While the cursed seal increased his strength as evidenced by his bigger muscles and stronger physical blows, it cut his speed. I need to take advantage of that. One-handed seals. Not many people are able to do them, Kimimaro praised the swordsman, while keeping a neutral tone. Given my fighting style, it is pretty much a need, Zabuza replied, sneering a little. Noticing Kimimaro's slight exhaustion, he added, "You look tired. Why don't you make both our days easier and give up?" "Never," was his answer. "Especially not since I didn't even use my best moves." Zabuza chuckled under his mask. "Then go ahead, kid. See if you can impress me." Dance of the Clematis, Vine. Kimimaro then proceeded not to impress as more to revolt Zabuza when the white-haired teen pulled his own spinal cord out of his body. Zabuza guessed he regrew a new one in the process, given that he was still standing. "As you can see, I'm no stranger to swords either," Kimimaro mentioned, as he swung his extracted spinal cord as if it were a weapon, akin to a mix between a sword and a whip. "Shall we duel?" Earlier that day, another person challenged Zabuza to a sword duel, and the demon of the hidden mist ended up humiliated. He wouldn't allow such thing to happen a second time in a row. Gripping it tightly, he raised his sword and frowned. "I'll make sure you regret those words," Zabuza coldly stated. Both ninja dashed towards each other, meeting in the middle, a loud metallic noise resulting of their weapons clashing. Given that both of them used rather lengthy swords, it was very easy to parry and block the other's strike, and naturally very hard to land a hit on the opponent. At least, not without relying on something other than a sword. Zabuza made a hand seal. Water release, water clone jutsu. 4 blobs of water jumped out of the lake into the ground, and they took the form and shape of Zabuza, sword included. The clones then rushed to aid their creator. This new threat forced Kimimaro to disengage Zabuza and face the clones. With a swing of his spinal cord sword, the Oto ninja easily destroyed one of the clones when it reached close combat distance, soaking Kimimaro completely. Undeterred, he proceeded to fight the other 3. "Given that you're relying on ninjutsu, I take that you admit I'm the best swordsman?" Kimimaro asked. Zabuza, however, wasn't going to fall for such an obvious taunt. "Don't make me laugh. We're ninja, and as such, we use every resource available to win. If you expected me to do otherwise, then you're a bigger fool than I thought. The best swordsman will be the one who walks out of this fight alive, simple as that." "Very well then," Kimimaro stoically replied, as suddenly multiple long spikes grew from different sides from his body, impaling the clones. Kimimaro engaged Zabuza once more, but besides his makeshift weapon, he also used his body spikes to attack Zabuza, which would increase or decrease their length and sharpness whenever they were close or far from the former Kirigakure ninja. Such an increase of offensive power forced Zabuza to fight defensively, much to his chagrin. Then, Kimimaro jumped backwards and made a swinging motion. The gaps between the vertebrae became bigger, increasing the length and the flexibility of the extracted spinal cord, turning it into something closer to a whip. Zabuza instinctively raised his sword to protect himself, and the cord wrapped itself around the sword. Zabuza and Kimimaro started to pull back and forth, until Kimimaro's superior strength won the struggle, and Zabuza's sword was yanked from his fingers, and tossed it into the nearby lake. "What's a swordsman without a sword?" Kimimaro mockingly asked before he made the same movement, binding Zabuza. "I'll tell you, a corpse." "Shit!" Zabuza yelled as he tried to break free. But both the bones and the cartilage holding them together were very strong, and with his arms pinned against his body, he couldn't use all his strength. Now, time to finish this. Kimimaro extended his free arm. Dance of the Clematis, flower. Much to Zabuza's horror, a massive drill made of bone formed around Kimimaro's hand. The bone construct appeared to be very hard and sharp. He didn't need to imagine what Kimimaro was planning to do. Kimimaro pulled Zabuza towards him while charging forward. Now die. In the last second, Kimimaro could see how Zabuza's horrified expression morphed into one of confidence and mockery. Before the giant drill could impale him, Zabuza jumped and landed on top of it. Kimimaro's arm couldn't support so much weight, and dropped on one knee as the additional load pulled him down. Zabuza violently kicked Kimimaro in the face, forcing him to drop the spinal cord sword, and thus releasing Zabuza, who jumped backwards. Kimimaro quickly detached the giant bone drill and picked up the spinal cord sword as he got back on his feet. "You're strong, kid. Very strong. Against another opponent, even one as skilled and strong as I am, you would have won. But your fate had already been decided," Zabuza claimed. "What are you talking about? Sure, you avoided the killing blow, but you're no closer to defeating me than you were at the beginning of our fight," Kimimaro defiantly replied as he slipped once again into a fighting stance. "You think so? Then you really need to check your current state, kid," Zabuza pointed out. "You said that you don't use that transformation against many people, and boy, it shows. It gives you quite the strength boost, but what you gain in physical power you lose it in speed. Something you could have remedied with enough training. And while your overall chakra is also boosted, the seal accelerates its consumption rate. As a result, you're both tired and almost out of chakra." "You underestimate me," Kimimaro replied, not too happy. "Am I? Those last attacks you used look to have a hefty chakra cost. And that's not even counting all the chakra you spent fighting those three brats." Zabuza shook his head. "I'm not as arrogant as to think that you are my equal, even my superior, when it comes to raw power. But you have plenty of glaring weaknesses, and as the fool you are, you let me exploit them all with you none the wiser. That's why I told you no amount of borrowed power could match my skill, intelligence and experience. If you're so confident about your chances, why don't you try to beat me then?" Kimimaro asked. Zabuza smirked under his mask. "It will be a pleasure." In less than a second, Zabuza was in front of Kimimaro. The Oto ninja tried to raise his makeshift weapon to defend himself, but was too slow, and Zabuza delivered a quick punch to the gut, and another kick to the face that sent him flying into the lake. Zabuza immediately followed him as he made several hand seals. Water release, water prison jutsu. Before he could realize what happened, Kimimaro found himself trapped in a sphere of water, deprived of oxygen. He banged the wall of the sphere trying to break free, but it was as hard as steel. "Your bones might be unbreakable, but I'm 100% sure you'll die if I keep you enough time from breathing," Zabuza stated, his words arriving distorted but still understandable to the trapped Kimimaro, who continued to furiously pound against the water sphere. "The average person can last around 4 to 5 minutes deprived of oxygen. But given your pointless attempts to break free, I'll give you 3 minutes tops. Anyway, just to be sure, I'll keep you here for 10 minutes, Zabuza shook his head in disappointment. Such a waste of power and potential. If I only got my hands on you before that snake did between you and Haku, I would have my work cut out for. Kimimaro didn't heed Zabuza's warning, and continued to bang his fists against the water prison. The horrifying realization of his impending demise dawned upon him. It's useless. He's right, I am too tired, and have very little chakra, Kimimaro thought, before another realization renewed his strengths. No. I can't die here. Not against this opponent. I'm Orochimaru-sama's strongest fighter. I can't deprive him of my service. I can't disappoint him. Kimimaro desperately thought. Kimimaro prepared for his last, desperate move. Zabuza started to notice that the water prison was becoming more and more unstable. What the? The brat is gathering his chakra for one more attack. This is bad. Zabuza removed his arm, undoing the water prison, a second before Kimimaro unleashed his remaining power. A deafening cry rang across the land, scaring nearby animals into hiding, before Kimimaro exploded into a growing mass of shapeless bone spikes. Zabuza moved as fast as his body allowed in order to hide from the chaotic attack, and thankfully was fast enough to keep the distance until it ended. "Idiot, that almost got me," Zabuza grumbled as he watched the sinking bone structure from the lake's shore. "Anyway, better retrieve my sword and see that those brats don't get themselves killed." However, unbeknown to Zabuza, Kimimaro didn't die. As his bloodline limit also allowed to merge with the bones he created, he used it as a way to escape the swordsman. Exhausted and with almost no chakra, he had reverted to his original form. "I won't fail, Orochimaru-sama," he said as he climbed out of the water, gasping for air. "I won't fail." Back to the forests of the Land of Sound, Hinata continued her disadvantaged fight against the three Oto genin. Decapitating air waves. Zaku once again shot his twin streams of pressured air at the Hyuga heiress, who dodged them with graceful agility, all while she pulled a few shuriken and tossed them at the spiky-haired genin. Dosu quickly intercepted the steel stars and swatted them away with his melody gauntlets. Meanwhile, Kin pulled a couple kunai and tried to attack Hinata from behind, but the Bluenet moved aside just in the nick of time, and delivered a painful palm strike to the black-haired girl's abdomen. "The hell? How did she know I was behind her?" Kin indignantly asked. "She's an Hyuga. Her eye power allows her to see in every direction around her at the same time," Dosu explained. "Ambushes won't work on her." "I've seen you've done your homework," Hinata mentioned. "Then we will attack her from different sides. Even if she can see our attacks coming, she won't be able to stop all of them," Zaku stated. Dosu and Kin nodded, and the three genin spread out to surround Hinata as they prepared to attack. Hinata made several hand seals and covered her body in electricity. Resonating echo drill. Decapitating airwaves. Shadow clone Sanban Jutsu. Hinata started to spin as destructive sound waves, pressured air streams and multiple steel needles flied at her. Lightning release, heavenly thunderstorm. The blue-haired Hyuga turned into a tornado of lightning that not only repelled the three attacks aimed at her, but it blasted her three attackers with lightning discharges, pushing them backwards. When Hinata stopped spinning, there was a large crater around her. What was that?" Dosu asked, incredulous, as he tried to stand back. Of the trio, he was the only one still conscious. "That was my power. The power I developed after the first time we fought, with my hard work and determination," Hinata replied. "You Orochimaru-sama promised us power, but how can somebody become so strong so fast?" Dosu stammered. "Orochimaru can only promise you death," Hinata replied. "Don't you see? I don't know what your history is or what events led you to serve him, but you don't matter to him, except as disposable pawns and guinea pigs." "No, that can't be true," Dosu unsure replied as Hinata walked towards him. "If it was true, I alone couldn't have defeated you," Hinata said, before delivering a chopping strike to the bandaged ninja's neck, knocking him out cold. At the same time Hinata fought the Sound Genin, Lee was fighting their master. Fire release, cursed flame destruction. Mizuki breathed a wave of blue fire at Lee, who managed to dodge it at a breaknecking speed. The green-clad genin quickly reached hand-to-hand distance, and he engaged his former teacher in a rather short-lived martial arts duel, which ended up with Mizuki on the ground once again. "That cursed seal give you a boost. But it's still not enough to defeat me," Lee stated. Why are you so strong? How can a kid that can't use ninjutsu be that powerful?" Mizuki asked in disbelief. "Easy. Hard work," was Lee's answer. "Hard work? Do you expect me to believe you got that power on hard work alone? Do you think I'm stupid?" Mizuki spitefully growled. Lee merely shrugged. "It's not surprising that you find my claims unbelievable. given your eagerness to take shortcuts to power, such as that cursed seal, Lee pointed out. Most people tend to underestimate how long can you go if you work hard and push yourself to your limits on a regular basis. Lies. Nobody can become so strong by simply trying hard. Mizuki spat back as he charged at Lee. If it was that easy, every ninja would be as strong as Orochimaru-sama. Lee effortlessly dodged the charge and kicked him in the back. Who said it was easy? Lee retorted. From an outsider's perspective, it might look like it. But trust me, it's not. You have no idea what I had to do to become what I am today. How much I had to sweat, to bleed, to cry. But I don't regret any of that, because the payoff speaks for itself. Nonsense. People are either born strong or weak, and the latter can't change their status by themselves. Mizuki protested as he threw a punch. Especially if you're held back by others, like Konoha did with me. Oh, I see it now, Lee said in realization, as he easily blocked the punch. You were weak, but instead of trying to improve yourself with hard work, you shifted the blame to Konoha, and tried everything you could to gain power. Everything except tackling the actual problem. That's why you will never defeat me, no matter how much of a failure you think I am. Shut up. Once again, Mizuki lunged at Lee and tried to impale him with the sickles of his additional arms. Lee ducked in time and kicked Mizuki in the face while crouching, sending him up into the air. Gate of opening, open. Surrounded by a green aura, Lee shot upwards, catching the still-flying Mizuki from behind, before both of them started to spin as Lee piledrove Mizuki into the ground. Front Lotus. Mizuki hit the ground head-first with a loud crash, while Lee managed to jump out in the nick of time and land safely on his feet. While not lethal, the attack was strong enough to knock Mizuki out cold, who also reverted to his original form. Lee-kun? Hinata's voice asked. Lee turned around and saw Hinata walking towards him. Behind her, he could see the unconscious Sound Genin tied to a tree. Ah, Hinata-san, I see you defeated your opponents as well. Lee pointed out. And you were right, my flames of youth were more than enough to defeat our former teacher. I will never doubt your decisions ever again. Hinata smiled at him. It's okay to doubt sometimes, Lee, she then grew serious again. We should try to catch Naruto-kun. But we can't leave these people here unsupervised. I can see that you're eager to reunite and help Naruto-kun, Lee observed. Go then. I'll stay here and watch over the prisoners. Hinata smiled once more, nodded, and headed towards Orochimaru's lair. She hoped she could find it on her own. Hold on, Naruto-kun, I'll be with you shortly. Hinata thought. While Zabuza fought against Kimimaro and Hinata and Lee fought against Mizuki and the Sound Genin, Naruto and Sasuke, the last two remaining members of the original rescue force, approached the entrance to Orochimaru's main base. Sasuke's hawk had told them that it was located between two large oaks. It even showed them the actual spot. But all that they could see were a bunch of large rocks, with some bushes growing between them. Both of them reached the conclusion that there was a powerful genjutsu covering the entrance. Sharingan. Sasuke's bloodline limit flared to life, and with his enhanced vision, the youngest Uchiha could see a distortion between the large oaks. He made a hand seal, and released a small pulse of chakra in every direction. The effect was instant, and the illusion was dispelled, revealing the entrance to Orochimaru's lair, a simple set of stone stairs that headed underground. There it is, Sasuke pointed out. Should I send a clone to check if there are traps? Naruto asked. Sasuke nodded, and Naruto made his most used hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A single clone popped into existence and went downstairs. After a few very tense minutes, the clone dispelled himself, sending his memories back to Naruto. No traps. It's safe to go down, Naruto informed Sasuke. The two of them followed the same path the clone had walked before. However, much to their horror, the moment they reached the end of the flight of stairs, large stone slabs raised from the other end of the stairs, blocking the entrance completely, darkening the instance. The hell? How did the clone didn't spring that trap? Naruto protested. It isn't obvious. They're watching us, Sasuke replied. They knew we send a clone to scout, and when the real us entered, they activated the closing mechanism manually. Then there's no point in sending more clones to scout, Naruto concluded. Come on, let's see if we can find my siblings. I'm sure we can force our way out of this underground lair. With the invasion going on, there should barely be any ninja manning this hideout, so I don't think we'll find much of a resistance, Sasuke observed. He was confident that both his and Naruto's strength would be enough to face any potential foe there. How wrong he was. They traversed a long but narrow hallway with multiple doors leading to what appeared to be rooms. All the rooms were inspected in hopes of finding the missing children, but to no avail. They both deduced that Orochimaru's grunts lived there. However, besides a bed and a small, empty wardrobe, there was nothing, as if they were abandoned. After fruitlessly searching the last room, the two young Chunin exited the hallway, and entered a massive chamber illuminated by a multitude of torches. Massive stone statues of snakes oversaw the area. There were a few doors that lead into deeper parts of the hideout. Alright, this place is too big for just two people to search, so I better create an army of dash, Naruto was about to suggest before being interrupted. So, you finally arrived, a voice said out of nowhere. Both Konoha ninja immediately tensed up and slipped into a combat stance. Congratulations you two. I'm sure the path wasn't easy, was it? Before any of them could have a chance to ask who was there, a spiraling vortex appeared in the middle of the chamber, and a masked man wearing the Akatsuki cloak came out of it. However, your trip ends here, the Akatsuki menacingly said. It took Naruto and Sasuke less than a second to know who that man was. They both knew that, according to official reports, Tsunade had fought against a hooded Akatsuki that wore an orange mask with a single eye hole on it. Said man claimed that he was after the Nine Tails, that he was responsible for the attack 13 years ago that resulted in many deaths, Minato and Kushina among them, and freely admitted manipulating the Uchiha clan into pulling the coup d'état, resulting in the deaths of most of Sasuke's family. His name was Tobi. Yes, this man was responsible for two of the greatest calamities that ever happened to Konoha, which resulted in the loss of some of their closest relatives, parents included. You! Sasuke roared as he dashed forward, unsheathing his katana. You're dead. Sasuke, wait! Naruto shouted as he followed him. Sasuke tried to stab Tobi, but the masked Akatsuki unsheathed his own sword as well and expertly deflected Sasuke's stab before kicking the Uchiha in the chest, knocking him on his back. Naruto suddenly appeared behind Tobi, ready to slash his back with his chakra blade, but Tobi swiftly sidestepped, avoiding the slash, before kicking the wide-open Naruto in the face. Ugh! Naruto groaned as he stood up. He rubbed his chin in pain. Sasuke, remember that this man can turn intangible. According to Mom, one of us should strike him while he's attacking the other. Sasuke didn't reply. He merely stood up, and shot Tobi a murderous glare. Tobi chuckled, visibly amused. Don't worry kids. You two are so below my level that I'm not going to resort to that. This made the already angry Sasuke to be consumed by rage. He quickly made several hand seals as he tightly gripped his katana with both hands. Lightning release, thunder blade. Sasuke's blade crackled with electricity, and once again charged madly at Tobi. Tobi was ready to counter that attack when the youngest Uchiha vanished seconds before he could reach close-quarter combat. I didn't want to use this on you, but you leave me no choice, he sourly said. Then, Tobi's mood suddenly shifted, and in a much happier tone, he added, Oh, who am I kidding, I was dying to use this. Koto Amatsukami. Naruto felt as if somebody smashed his head with a hammer from the inside, and stumbled back. Sasuke had to hold Naruto to make sure he didn't fall. Naruto, are you alright? The Uchiha asked. Yes, I think. Naruto groggily replied. Well, Naruto, are coming, or not? Tobi asked. Why yes, Naruto replied, unsure. Yes, I'm coming with you, he added, now sounding more determined. Sasuke watched in shock what was happening. What kind of jutsu did the masked man use on Naruto to make him so suggestible? He could wonder on that later. Now, he needed to stop the blonde from doing something unbelievably stupid. Naruto. What the hell are you doing? Sasuke shouted as he grabbed Naruto's arm. Don't you see? I'm going with Tobi-sama. Naruto answered as he swiped Sasuke's hand. Akatsuki needs the 9 tails in order to make this place a better world, and thus it is my duty to hand it to them. What? Sasuke asked, his shock growing with each second. Don't you see? That Akatsuki poisoned your mind. Do you hear what you're saying? I am. And all what Tobi-sama did was opening my eyes. This world is a mess, Sasuke, and Akatsuki have the way to change it for the better. Now please, let me go, Naruto calmly pleaded. What about your siblings? Did you forget about them already? Sasuke indignantly asked. The mention of Hagane and Kaida seemed to bring some lucidity back to the blonde, but it was brief. They will be fine. I know they won't suffer any harm here, Naruto said with a shrug as he continued walking towards Tobi. Sasuke, however, grabbed Naruto by the arm once again. If you can't be reasoned with, then I'll knock you out and drag you back to the village unconscious. Like hell I'm going to let you leave with that man. I already told you to take your hands off of me, you idiot. Naruto lashed out as he tried to punch Sasuke. Enough, Tobi calmly, but firmly, stated as he walked forward. Sasuke, why don't you come with us? You have a lot of potential. Akatsuki could use somebody as strong as you, and under our guidance, you could become a powerful ninja. Join you. After what you did to my clan. Sasuke roared, heaving with anger. Yes. Don't you see, Sasuke? This world is nothing but chaos and suffering. All Akatsuki wants is to create a world of order. A world where nobody will lose a loved one in nonsensical wars and power plays. A world where the friends you have today won't be enemies you will fight tomorrow. A world of peace and justice. Naruto can see that. Why can't you? Maybe because unlike Naruto, I'm not under mind control, Sasuke spat back. Mind control. As soon as those 2 words let out his lips, Sasuke's brain started to make the connection. Shursui was able to mind control people. Shursui lost one of his eyes the day before the insurrection. Shursui claimed Danzo did it, but the eye never appeared. Tobi was in Konoha the day of the insurrection. In that case, let me show you how hopeless this world is, Tobi looked at Naruto. Naruto, kill him. As you wish, Naruto flatly replied, grabbing a handful of kunai and tossing them at Sasuke. Maybe watching you two fight will be a better entertainment than fighting you myself, Tobi stated to no one in particular, before jumping into one of the statue's head in order to get a better view of the fight. The Uchiha barely had time to deflect the incoming blades as he jumped back in order to put some distance. Alright, it seems I'll have to knock you unconscious then, Sasuke thought, as his hands flied through hand seals. Though I have to try to break the mind control. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke breathed a huge fireball at Naruto, who pulled out a kunai with a blue paper seal and tossed it. Kunai and fireball met midway, and the seal attached to the kunai burst in a watery explosion, putting the Uchiha's attack out, creating a wall of steam. Coming from the steam, Naruto dashed at Sasuke, his trusty chakra blade in hand, ready to cut his former friend open. Sasuke was quick to raise his own katana, and after infusing it with his own chakra, used it to block the attack. Before Naruto had any time to react, Sasuke delivered a painful kick to Naruto's gut, which pushed him a couple meters backwards. Sasuke, Naruto spoke, looking at him with pleading eyes. It doesn't have to be like this. Sasuke's eyes flared with anger. Shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about, the Uchiha angrily protested. I do. I admit that I used to be quite dense back then, but now I know the truth. Now I see everything the way it is, and I know the way to fix it. If you only let me, Naruto continued. Let you? Let you? Sasuke roared. To let you help the man responsible for the death of my clan. That's why you need to help me, Sasuke. To make sure that such a tragedy won't happen again. Naruto protested. I can't be Hokage and let something like that happen again. You won't be Hokage if you follow your actual path. Only death awaits you, Sasuke grimly reminded him. Perhaps. But a Hokage should be willing to die for the greater good, Naruto adopted a fighting stance. But my death won't come today, Sasuke, nor it will come by your hand. We'll see about that, Sasuke replied as he adopted a fighting stance as well. We already fought once, I proved to be stronger than you. Even that jutsu with 2 elements wasn't enough to defeat me. You have no chance of winning against me, Naruto stated, hoping that maybe he could make Sasuke to stand down, but deep down he knew the Uchiha was as stubborn as himself. Things change. That jutsu was incomplete, and it's not the case anymore. And this isn't a mere fight for a promotion. There's too much at stake for me to hold back, even if it ends in your death, Sasuke replied. Naruto chuckled. So, you are willing to kill me? It is true what they say about you Uchiha. You'd kill your friends without remorse. Do not dare to insult my clan. Sasuke roared as he charged against Naruto. Naruto smirked, as he prepared for Sasuke's onslaught. Even if the situation was dire, he was going to enjoy the fight. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. Sasuke breathed a wide volley of fireballs at Naruto. The fireballs had shuriken hidden within them, so even if Naruto doused the flames with another of those annoying water seals, there was still something left to hit. However, being the unpredictable ninja he was, Naruto opted for another strategy. Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. Like the name stated, a mass of green and orange-clad clones appeared in front of Naruto, clustering together in a barrier, successfully blocking the attack, shuriken included, even if most of them had to die. Without issuing any order, the surviving clones formed a Rasengan each and charged at Sasuke. The Uchiha tensed up. A Rasengan was bad. Half a dozen were way worse. They won't be able to defend themselves from ranged attacks if they have to keep the Rasengan active, Sasuke thought as his hands flew through hand seals as they started to crackle with electricity. Lightning release, Thunderbolt. Lightning bolts flew out of Sasuke's fingertips, striking the 3 foremost Naruto clones, poofing into cloud of smoke. However, the smoke also acted as a cover for the 2 clones of the back, who avoided Sasuke's lightning attack, and spread out and attacked in a pincer formation. Seeing no other way out, Sasuke decided to tackle one of them head-on, and take care of the other next. Rasengan. The clone tried to slam the sphere of destruction into Sasuke's chest, but the Uchiha was faster, and grabbed the clone by the wrist before he could do so. Knowing the other clone was behind him, he slammed the first clone's Rasengan against the second, resulting in a massive chakra explosion that destroyed them, while hurling Sasuke against a stone column. Well, that looks like it hurt, Naruto observed, as he let out a taunting chuckle. Sasuke just grumbled something unintelligible as he tried to shake off the pain of the impact. Not as much as this, he said as he made more hand seals, before pulling out his katana. Fire release, Burning Blade. Sasuke's sword was wreathed in flames. Holding it in a reverse grip, he charged at Naruto. The blonde pulled out his chakra blade, and activated the moment he raised it to parry Sasuke's attack. Fire and steel fought against pure chakra, with neither of them gaining the upper hand. Sasuke then jumped back, allowing Naruto to attack. But the moment Naruto made a swing, Sasuke quickly dodged it by sidestepping, and slid behind Naruto. He placed a hand on his shoulders, and sent a chakra pulse through the blonde's body. I hope this can break the mind control, Sasuke thought. Naruto's elbow violently connecting with the Uchiha's mouth signaled that no, the chakra disturbance wasn't enough. Got him it, Naruto, snap out of it already. Sasuke angrily shouted as he held his mouth in pain. Snap of it? I was shown the truth, Sasuke. I can't just snap out it, Naruto replied. What about your parents? What about Hinata? Are you willing to help the people who want to destroy everything they fight for? The Uchiha asked. In time, they will understand that Akatsuki is a force of good, and that big changes always require sacrifices, Naruto retorted. Such as how so I can fulfill my destiny, you need to die so you will stop getting in the way. Sasuke snarled, as he prepared to continue the fight. He thought in summoning a hawk, but hawks fought poorly in caves and caverns, even in one such as big as this one. At least Naruto wasn't thinking in summoning a toad either. Probably because deep down he knew they wouldn't help him in his current state. Well, if the chakra pulse didn't work, then I'll have to use something more potent, the youngest Uchiha thought as he got ready to resume the fight. He stabbed his sword on the ground, and made several hand seals. Lightning release, thunder blade. Fire release, burning edge. Sasuke pulled out a kunai the moment he retrieved his sword. The former was covered in flames, while the latter started to crackle with blue electricity. That thing again? Naruto asked, before grinning evilly. Thank Kami, I'm prepared now. The Jinchuriki pulled out a second chakra sword from his ninja tool pouch and activated it, projecting another blue blade of pure chakra. Naruto and Sasuke charged towards each other, meeting in the middle as they clashed in a storm of sword swipes and swings. While Naruto was indeed skilled with the swords, Sasuke's skill was greater, plus he had also been training in sword fighting much longer than Naruto. After a few strikes, Sasuke managed to swipe one of Naruto's chakra blades from his hand. Give up, loser. There's no way you can defeat me in sword fighting. Sasuke boasted. You sound awfully sure, Naruto cockily retorted. You see, my chakra blade still has a couple more tricks you haven't seen yet. Behold. Naruto held his weapon in front of him as he focused, and the projected chakra blade started to ripple, as if it was growing unstable. The chakra blade then expanded and turned white, almost looking like white fire. See this? My chakra blade is now a wind blade, Naruto told him. One of the wind element's most known characteristics is its cutting power. Wanna help me test how deep this sword can cut now? Sasuke didn't answer Naruto's taunts and resumed the fight. While he wouldn't know if Naruto's weapon could slice any better, his blows now carried far more power. He immediately realized what was happening. The wind chakra is blowing gusts with each strike, increasing their power of his swings. Plus that wind sword can easily repel my lightning attacks, Sasuke quickly deduced. Better stick to fire alone. Sasuke dispelled the electricity coursing through his blade, and replaced it with fire. Naruto, however, looked undeterred. You're going to need something more than elemental advantage if you can hope to defeat me, dumbass, Naruto pointed out. We'll see about that, was Sasuke's response. Naruto gripped his weapon tightly, and the white flames that formed its blade started to glow with an intense white light. Making a swinging motion, Naruto cast a crescent-shaped wave of chakra at Sasuke. The black-haired boy managed to jump over it in time, and saw how the chakra wave cleanly slashed a column before it crashed against a wall, shattering a large area. See this, Sasuke? The culmination of my work and my training, Naruto boasted. This is what you're up against. Sasuke frowned. Naruto was boastful, but never sounded summon. The mind control altered his mind in more subtle ways than just buying the lies of Akatsuki. Sasuke then sheathed his sword and returned his kunai to his ninja tool pouch. He then made several hand seals. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke breathed a massive fireball at Naruto, so hot it left a trail of scorched, blackened floor underneath as it flied towards the Uzumaki. Naruto merely smirked as he raised his sword above his head, and grinned. "Is all the best you have?" Naruto taunted, as he lowered his sword in a vertical chopping motion. The resulting action produced a gust of razor wing that literally split the incoming mass of fire in two, with both halves slowly disintegrating into smoldering embers. However, Naruto's smile was short-lived upon notice that Sasuke wasn't in his initial position anymore. Where did he go? Naruto asked as he frantically looked around, until he saw the last Uchiha high into the air. While he was into the air, Sasuke pulled out and unfolded two Fuma shuriken. "Take this!" Sasuke cried as he tossed the giant steel stars, one after the other. Naruto smirked again and raised his wind blade in a defensive stance. He quickly sliced the first flying star in two as if it was made of butter, then in a quick swing, he repeated the action with the second one before it could get too close to him. "Huh, look at that. You can't dash!" Naruto was interrupted by a whirring sound, and much to his shock and anger, realized that Sasuke had tossed normal shuriken at him while he was falling to the ground. Shuriken that he didn't see because he was too focused on the Fuma shuriken Sasuke tossed first. However, Sasuke had fumbled the toss, and the steel stars were flying way too separated from each other, leaving large laps between them that could be used to dodge them. Something Naruto naturally did. "Your aim's getting worse, Sasuke. Guess that the Sharingan isn't all that cracked up as you make it out to be," Naruto taunted, as the shuriken flew past him. However, Sasuke was smiling. "Trust me, I aimed exactly where I wanted," he replied, before making a pulling motion. While confused at first, Naruto quickly realized that Sasuke was handling ninja wire. Ninja wire connected to the shuriken that he just tossed. No wonder they were flying in such a spread formation. Sasuke moved the shuriken in a circular motion, tying Naruto up before the steel stars embedded into his skin. "I don't know if it was beating me at the Chunin exams, or the mind control, but you certainly grew overconfident," Sasuke stated, then he started making hand seals while keeping hold on the wires. "This will hurt a lot, but I promise you'll much better afterwards." Sasuke sent electricity through the metallic cords that bound Naruto, electrocuting the blonde. He let out a loud cry of heart-wrenching pain. Such action had the side effect of heating the cords until they snapped, releasing the blonde and cutting the connection for the electricity to travel, but it had already did his job. Or at least, that's what Sasuke was hoping. "Ugh!" Naruto groaned as he fell to his knees. Smoke was coming out of his body, which had multiple small burns. "Naruto, are you okay?" Sasuke tentatively asked. "You were right when you said it would hurt a lot," Naruto weakly stated. He then raised his head, fixing a hateful glare on the Uchiha. "But it didn't hurt as much as what I planned to do with you." Shadow Clone Jutsu. About 30 clones popped into existence, every single one of them sharing the original's anger, each of them holding a wind blade as well. Without any order from the original, the army of Naruto clones charged forward. Sasuke prepared for the incoming onslaught by making several hand seals. Fire release, Burning Man. A cloak of flame surrounded Sasuke, as the youngest Uchiha unsheathed his katana once again, which was also set on fire. Not waiting for the blonde army to arrive, Sasuke dashed forward, taking advantage of his superior speed to plow through the clones, as he started to cut them down. Sasuke took advantage of the fact that the clones were clustered and thus were getting in each other's way to attack, giving him an easier time at dodging and counterattacking. But the moment the number of clones were cut in half, the clones also had more space to attack and no longer got in each other's way, forcing Sasuke into the defensive. Sasuke jumped out of the fray, hoping to buy a couple seconds to regain his breath, but the clones, with the original among them, were relentless in their chase. Sasuke expertly parried most of the blows aimed at him, but he still got some pretty ugly cuts from the ones he was unable to block. "Even if its chakra cost will make me regret doing it, I need to use a jutsu with a wide area of effect," Sasuke thought as he stabbed his katana into the floor and made several hand seals. Fire release, annihilation nova. Naruto cursed upon hearing the name of the jutsu as he jumped back and tried to put some distance but knew he was too close to Sasuke to outrun it. The youngest Uchiha turned into a giant fireball that instantly destroyed all the clones, successfully catching the original in the blast. Naruto was badly burned and hurled against a wall before falling to the ground. Did that get him? Sasuke wondered, before he was forced down on one knee once the effects of spending so much chakra at once kicked in. Damn! I should have listened to Itachi when he told me to try to create a jutsu less chakra heavy, even if it wasn't as powerful. You're really getting on my nerves, Sasuke, Naruto groaned as he got back on his feet. How can you still stand after taking the brunt of that blast? The incredulous Uchiha asked. I'm tough and heal fast. And with that move, you sealed your defeat, Naruto said in satisfaction. Using that jutsu after all this fighting must have left your chakra reserves almost depleted, while I still have plenty to spare. Not entirely, Sasuke mentioned as he grabbed his katana once again, and gripped its handle with both hands. I still have enough chakra for this. The blade of Sasuke's katana burst into flames, followed shortly by numerous electric sparks. Naruto let out a loud, mocking laugh. Are you serious? Do you plan to do that again? Naruto asked, incredulous, but also amused. He made a single shadow clone. Okay then. If it's a repeat of the Chunin exam finals what you want, I'm more than happy to oblige. However, Naruto wasn't planning to use a normal Rasengan, but one infused with wind chakra. That would reduce Sasuke's victory chances to less than 0. Sasuke moved first, charging towards Naruto while trying to keep his complex jutsu under control. And once Naruto completed his jutsu, he had the clone push him towards Sasuke for additional momentum. Double elemental release, plasma blade. Wind release, Rasengan. Both attacks clashed against each other. The Rasengan suddenly expanding, and releasing powerful gust of winds everywhere, while blazes and lightning bolts came from Sasuke's sword. Come on, come on! Sasuke cried as he struggled to keep both elements active. Die already! Naruto hatefully shouted as he pushed the Rasengan towards Sasuke with all his remaining might. Despite being able to keep the jutsu stable this time around, even with 2 elements it wasn't enough to counter Naruto's elemental Rasengan. Like it happened before, the force of the attack blew Sasuke's sword out of his hands, before he was trapped in a twister of wind and chakra that violently slammed Sasuke against a wall with such force, it shattered a good chunk of it. Sasuke wasn't moving. Naruto, panting heavily, started to laugh. Even if he wasn't sure if the attack killed Sasuke, the fight was already over. His laugh grew in mirth and volume as seconds passed by. Ha ha ha, yes. I defeated you again, Sasuke. The moment we graduated from the academy marked the last time you would ever be better than me. However, Naruto's victory boast was interrupted when Sasuke's body poofed, stunning the blonde into silence. What the Jinchuriki said as he proceeded to look around. But before he could do anything, a sword pierced his back and burst through his gut, impaling him. A thread of blood fell from his mouth. Through the corner of his eye, he saw Sasuke behind him. How? You're not the only one who knows how to do shadow clones, Sasuke replied. And you are rather confident now. But enough words. If this doesn't break the mind control then I'm out of ideas. Lighting release, Thunder Blade. Electricity once again coursed through Sasuke's katana, electrocuting Naruto again, this time from the inside out. Once he was done, he pulled the sword in a clean motion, and the blonde fell to the ground, unconscious. He should be okay, given that the Uchiha carefully avoided every possible vital spot. But he would need medical attention soon. And following his own advice, Sasuke made sure that Naruto hadn't tricked him, and prepared for any possible attack. The attack came, in the form of a sudden kick to the face, but it did not come from Naruto, but from the Akatsuki who had been watching the whole fight, and Sasuke pretty much forgot his presence until now. "What did you do?" Tobi asked as he knelt before Naruto's body. "What did you do?" "What?" a confused Sasuke asked upon getting up. "You idiot! You killed him! You killed him!" Tobi angrily repeated. Those words hit Sasuke like a sledgehammer. There's no way that could have been true. He made sure none of the attacks he used on Naruto were lethal. Besides, Jinchuriki were said to be far more resilient than normal humans due to the creatures they hosted inside them. "No, that can be," Sasuke said, almost in a whisper. "I avoided all his vital spots. You impaled him, then electrocuted him from the inside out," Tobi loudly pointed out. "What the hell did you think was going to happen?" Sasuke stood there, in shock, looking at Naruto's immobile body. He did look dead. He had killed him. The very first person he ever killed, and it was Naruto. While Sasuke has mentally prepared himself for his first kill, he would never imagine it would be one of the very few people he would call themselves their friend. No, Sasuke weakly said as he stepped back. "This can't RRGGH." Sasuke's eyes started to burn as if somebody dropped a hot coal on them. His palms instinctively slapped against his pained eyes, as he bent over his knees. Tobi, meanwhile, watched intently. "It was you," Sasuke roared. "You made me do it." Sasuke had his Sharingan active again, but it acquired a different pattern, 3 red intersecting ellipses against a black background. "Ah, there it is," Tobi casually said, now oddly calmed. Sasuke let out a cry of rage, and too angry to think any kind of sensible strategy, or even use ninjutsu, the youngest Uchiha merely leaped at the masked Akatsuki, as if he were a wild animal pouncing on its prey. Tobi merely chuckled, and easily kicked Sasuke in the chest, knocking him on his back. However, before he could get back on his feet, the masked man made a few hand seals, and plant vines emerged from the ground and wrapped around Sasuke's limbs, neck and body, pinning him against the floor. "And there it is, the Mangekyo Sharingan," Tobi mentioned, then he turned back at Naruto. But just in case, Tobi knelt once again before Naruto's body, and thoroughly checked his vitals. An audible sigh of relief escaped his lips. "Just as I imagined, he's still alive," Tobi said, now even more calm and relaxed. "I knew that your attacks wouldn't be enough to end his life, but I wanted to make sure." "What?" Sasuke asked, his anger dispelling, being replaced by confusion. "Then why did you trick me into thinking that I killed him?" "It isn't obvious." "Because I wanted you to awake the Mangekyo Sharingan," Tobi explained. Sasuke's visible confusion made Tobi realize that the youngest Uchiha wasn't familiar with the term. He let out a mocking laugh. "Oh, this is too good. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you? It seems that your dearest brother and cousin kept you in the dark about one of our clan's secrets. Anyway, allow me to enlighten you then. The Sharingan has a higher form, named Mangekyo Sharingan, that grants the user a whole new set of very powerful abilities. Your brother, your cousin, and I myself have it. The problem, though, is to awaken it. In order to do so, an Uchiha must experience a sense of overwhelming guilt and/or despair. And what better way to make you experience such emotions than making you believe you killed one of the few kids that didn't treat you as trash when everybody else did? But why? Why did you went to such lengths to help me?" Sasuke asked. A scalpel appeared on Tobi's hand. Sasuke's normally pale face turned even whiter when the realization instantly dawned upon him. "What do you think?" Tobi was grinning maliciously behind his mask. "I could have dispatched you and take the Jinchuriki the moment you set your foot on this lair. But then I realized how could I use Naruto to make you awake the Mangekyo Sharingan, and truth be told, it was too good to pass. Especially since we Uchiha now are an endangered species." As his self-preservation instincts kicked it, Sasuke tried to use his remaining strength to break free of his bindings and run away from there. Don't bother, even if you were at your full strength, you wouldn't be able to break those vines, Toby stated as he walked closer to Sasuke. Now stay still while I begin the extraction actually, now that I think about it. I don't even need you to be alive anymore Sodi. Toby made a hand seal, and the vines started to strangle Sasuke as they greatly tightened their hold over him. What a pity. Even by Uchiha standards, you had a lot of potential. You could have been an useful ally. But don't worry, the power of your eyes won't go to waste. I can assure you that, Toby said as he watched Sasuke die. The youngest Uchiha struggled with all his strength against the tightening vines, but the effect of lack of oxygen soon became noticeable. His movements became slower and jerkier, as his vision started to blur and darken. Then, at that moment, a green, blue and silver blur crossed the instance in less than a second, as a sound of 1,000 birds chirping filled the air. Lightning blade. Kakashi's signature move impaled Toby's heart. Or at least, that was the intention, as the copy ninja noticed that, even if his hand was buried inside the Akatsuki's chest, he felt as if he hit thin air. Toby jumped back, and Kakashi realized that he had used his ability to turn intangible Tsunade has talked about. Phew, that was a close call, wasn't it? Toby casually mentioned. Asuma and Kurenai entered the room as well, followed by Hinata, Haku, Tenten and Karen. Asuma walked towards Sasuke, and with a few accurate swipes, cut all the vines holding him down, releasing the Uchiha Chunin, who started to violently cough, as he held his pained throat. Breathe slowly. Don't try to take too much air at once, Asuma instructed Sasuke. Karen walked towards Sasuke and used the mystical palm jutsu to heal him. Naruto-kun. Hinata cried in shock upon seeing Naruto laying motionless in the ground. Thankfully, she could see he was still alive since his chakra network was still active. She rushed to him and started to heal him. We need to take Naruto and Sasuke out of here, right now. Kurenai urged. As well as find the Hokage's children, Asuma added. And you think I'm going to let you do that? Toby asked as he unsheathed his katana. While I sadly won't be able to get Sasuke's eyes, I won't let you people stop me from claiming the Jinchuriki a third time. Okay then. Asuma, Kurenai, let's deal with this guy, Kakashi suggested. Remember what Tsunade-sama said about his abilities. Between the three of them should be able to put him down. You really overestimate your abilities, Kakashi, Toby sourly said. Karen, can you look where the children are? Kurenai asked. Karen nodded, made a hand seal, and focused. As her senses expanded, she managed to identify the chakra signature of the twins. Got them, she said. Alright then. Tenten, Haku, go with her and rescue them. Hinata, stay here and take care of Naruto and Sasuke. Once everybody is safe, we'll cover your escape, Kurenai commanded. Now go. Asuma added as he engaged Toby in a duel of blades. Taking advantage of the Akatsuki's predicament, Tenten, Haku and Karen rushed past him, and headed into the deepest part of the lair, where the twins were presumably held, while the three Jonin charged against the masked Akatsuki. Now to the left. Karen stated, as the three of them reached a fork. How much until we get to them? Tenten asked. Shouldn't be far. I think one more turn and then WHOA. Karen suddenly said, as she stopped in her tracks. What's wrong, Karen? Haku asked. We're not alone. Karen warned the others. Tenten looked around, a bit puzzled. I don't see anybody. And this empty hallway doesn't have any spots to hide and wait, what's that? Suddenly, what appeared to be some kind of white, semi-gelatinous mass started to grow all around the hallway at a rather fast pace. What the hell is that? Tenten loudly asked, as she unsealed a Naginata from one of her remaining scrolls. Haku and Karen also adopted fighting stances. I don't know. But it's alive, and it has chakra. Karen distressingly informed. The mass then began to morph into something humanoid. An actual human, with green hair, yellow eyes, and no genitalia. "You can't be here," one of the artificial men stated. "All intruders must die," said another, as he charged towards the Konoha ninja. Tenten was fast, and placing the Naginata in the way of the attacker, the creature ended up impaling himself. This spurned the few others to attack as well. Haku quickly formed several hand seals. Ice release, breath of winter. Haku exhaled an incredibly cold wind that completely left two of the attackers frozen. Tenten unsealed a barrage of shuriken from one of her scrolls, shattering them to pieces. Meanwhile, Karen reduced another of those strange beings to white chunky salsa with a well-placed chakra-enhanced punch. "What the hell are these things?" "Their chakra is soared," Karen mentioned. "What do you mean by weird?" Haku asked. "I don't know how to say it with words. It's like their chakra is human, but at the same time is not. Does that make any sense?" Karen tried to explain. "It's probably an experiment of Orochimaru," Tenten decided, before she knelt down and grabbed a chunk of white mass. She then pulled out an unused sealing scroll. "Maybe Tsunade-sama can analyze this properly. Whatever it is, it can't be good. Let's seal as much as we can." "Alright." After sealing the remains of the strange humanoid creatures, they continued their trek. More of those beings appeared to stop their mission, but the results were the same. After a few minutes and a couple hallway fights, they reached the room where Hagane and Kaida were held. "Allow me," Karen said, before she kicked the door down. The room only held 2 beds, with each twin laying on one of them. "They don't seem to be gravely injured, just some bruises," Karen said as she started to heal them with the mystical palm jutsu. "They should be fine in no time." And true to the redhead's word, the twins woke up once they were treated, groaning and rubbing their eyes. "How where I am?" Hagane groggily asked. "What is this place? Who are you?" Kaida asked, looking at the trio of Konoha ninja, before her eyes rested on Karen. "Hey, I remember you. You're Naruto Nizen's cousin, right? Your memory seems to be fine." "That's good," Karen noted, as she let out a small sigh. "To make a long story short, Orochimaru's lackeys kidnapped you. We're here to bring you back home," Haku quickly explained. "Can you walk?" The two of them replied by jumping out of their beds. "Okay then, if that's the case, then let's go. Try not to lag too much," Tenten instructed, as she and the now group of 5 ran back to the lair's entrance. However, just like the way in, Karen suddenly stopped. "Karen? What's wrong? More enemies?" Haku asked. "Come on, we can't afford to lose any second," Tenten protested. "Well, it's that when we passed this hallway, I felt a hidden presence. I couldn't pinpoint exactly where, but now I felt it again, even stronger." Karen pointed to a nearby door. "There's somebody behind this door." Tenten tried to open the door, but it was locked. "Whatever they keep here, it's valuable if they locked it. Still, we can't risk the Hokage's children anymore. Maybe we can send Dash." "Hey! Is somebody there?" a female voice asked from the other side. "Please, help me. Get me out of here." While the possibility of being a trap crossed their minds, Karen's sensing ability could tell her she wasn't lying. "Move aside, I'm going to bring the door down," Karen stated, shortly before making good on that statement with a powerful kick. "Whoa! You're so strong," the prisoner observed. Inside the room, which was just as bare and laconic as the one holding the twins, was a girl the same age as them, with shoulder-length brown hair, brown eyes and purple facial markings. She was wearing a plain gray short-sleeved t-shirt, and knee-length pants of the same color. "You're Konoha ninja, oh thank Kami," the girl said, as she exited the room. "Thanks. You know, this room has anti-sensor seals, as well as other protections. How did you know I was here?" Let's say that I'm way more powerful than the average censor, Karen proudly boasted. Who are you, by the way? Tenten asked. My name is Rin Noera, I'm a ninja of Konoha too. Now, we need to get out of here as soon as possible. While the three Jonin fought Tobi, Hinata was still taking care of Naruto, under Sasuke's distressed sight. How did you enter? The door was sealed by several stone slabs behind us, Sasuke asked. We opened the entrance by force, was Hinata's response, not taking her eyes from the unconscious Naruto. It wasn't as solid as it looked. That's something Sasuke would have done as well. How is he? The youngest Uchiha asked. His injuries were grave, but he will survive. Hinata's sight shifted from Naruto to Tobi, and frowned. That evil man impaled Naruto and submitted him to multiple lightning jutsu. A weaker person wouldn't have survived. Sasuke shifted a bit uncomfortably. Actually it was I who did that. Hinata suddenly turned at Sasuke, and looked at him with surprised eyes. However, she didn't look angry or outraged. You did such a thing? Why? Naruto was under mind control, Sasuke began. But it wasn't a normal genjutsu, it was the most powerful mind control genjutsu to ever exist. Not only is the ability exclusive to the Sharingan, but only one person in the whole world can cast it, my cousin Shisui Uchiha. Shisui Uchiha? Hinata wondered, as she remembered who she was talking about, until she slowly remembered. Oh, the proctor of the first part of the Chunin exams, right? He only had one eye. Yes. He lost his right eye shortly before the Uchiha insurrection. He claimed Danzo did it. Danzo claimed it was a lie. Regardless of that, the eye never appeared. Sasuke then glared at Tobi. I think it's obvious where the eye is. So you were forced to fight Naruto-kun? Hinata asked. Sasuke nodded. But if Naruto-kun was under his thumb the whole time, why didn't he take him away? Why did he jeopardize his plan like that with such a meaningless plot? Sasuke grew even more uncomfortable. He said he wanted to show me how easily friendships can break and become enemies. As well as for his own amusement. Honestly, that man is very mentally unstable. It's not that surprising for him to make such an irrational decision. Hinata narrowed her eyes a little. Sasuke was clearly hiding something from her. But she decided this wasn't the best time for an interrogation. It was obvious for anybody with functional eyes that the Uchiha had gone through a lot during the past couple hours. I tried to break the genjutsu by every way I knew, and none of them worked. Causing extreme pain and corporal damage was the only option I had, while making sure Naruto would survive it, Sasuke continued. It's okay, I'm not mad at you. You were cornered into a situation in which the choices available were few and hard, Hinata emphatically replied. Still, Sasuke remained stiff. Meanwhile, the three Konoha Jonin battled the masked Akatsuki, though they were barely able to land a hit on him. You know, this is actually much harder than Tsunade-sama made it look, Asuma protested as his swipe failed to hit anything but thin air for the umpteenth time. What, you thought that just because somebody figured out how my powers work, beating me would be piece of cake? Tobi mocked as he tossed a barrage of shuriken at his opponents. Besides, after my encounter with that blonde cow, I made sure to get better at using them. Still, as long as we're here, you can forget about abducting Naruto. Get that inside your head. Kurenai stated as she kicked him in the head, but sadly her foot phased through him. And you think you three can stop me? Ha! Tobi retorted. Your presence is a mere setback. These events are part of a plan that was conceived and started decades ago. Nothing you can do can stop it. Nothing you can do can stop me. Obito, stop. As those two words echoed through the cavernous chamber, all the adults froze in place. Looking to the place where the cry came from, they saw that Tenten, Haku and Karen had returned with the Hokage's children. However, the white-haired kids weren't the only ones they brought along. Among them, there was a brown-haired girl with purple facial markings. Is that? Kurenai began, completely caught by surprise. It can't be, Asuma said, just as shocked. Then, he looked back at the masked Akatsuki. And he called him Obito? If Kurenai and Asuma were surprised, Kakashi was so shocked, he couldn't even articulate a single word. You let her out, the masked man roared. No. What did you do? Obito, please end this madness already, Rin pleaded. Norin can't be alive, Kakashi muttered, as he slowly became more and more agitated. And you can't be Obito either. I saw both of them die. This has to be a trick. Tobi slowly turned at Kakashi, lowered his hood, and just as slowly, removed his mask, before casually tossing it away. The surprise of the three Konoha Jonin grew even more. That man was Obito, even if he clearly looked much older now. Still, he had the same facial features, ignoring his scarred left side of the face and the same spiky hair. He also had 2 Sharingan. Surprise, Obito stated unenthusiastically. It's really you? Kurenai asked in shock. But we all thought you were dead. Obito chuckled. In a way, I was. Obito Uchiha, the loud, clumsy and dumb kid that boasted that one day would become Hokage, died that day during the last ninja war. Now I'm somebody else. Something else. But, Kakashi stammered. You were alive all this time? And Rin too? How? And why didn't you come back to the village? As for how I survived, well, let's say that I was lucky a man rescued me. A powerful and wise man, Obito cryptically recounted. I did plan to return to the village once I was healed of my injuries, but that manha showed me the truth of this ugly world, that there's nothing but pain and despair awaiting for us. Obito made a dramatic pause before continuing, as he was going to drop quite a revelation at his former comrades. Kakashi, I was there the night Rin died, Obito announced. Once again, Kakashi paled with shock. How his heart managed to survive all this maddening revelations, it was anybody's guess. But to the adults, the implications of that statement were felt in full force. Wait a minute, how is that you're an adult, yet Rin still looks like a child? Asuma asked. Obito looked at Rin, before his sight rested once again onto the 3 Konoha Jonin. Let's say that it wasn't until recently that I managed to undo such a tragic mistake, Obito replied, still using ambiguous language. He then looked at her, his eyes reflecting sadness. That's why I kept you here, Rin, even if it was against your will. I couldn't afford losing you again after finally getting you back. Obito, I'm not some sort of china doll you have to put in a locker. And neither I am of your property. What's the point of bringing me back to life, if I'm not allowed to experience what life is? No. You don't understand. This world is too dangerous. Once Akatsuki changes it for the better, you'll be able to roam it as much as you want. Obito insisted. He then turned back at Kakashi, Asuma and Kurenai. His face was contorted by anger. You won't take her away from me. Not again. I'll kill all of you before letting such thing happen. Asuma and Kurenai quickly adopted fighting stances. Obito was ready to attack, and he looked extremely unhinged. Kakashi was still frozen with shock, and remained immobile. Then, at that moment, a strange humanoid creature which appeared to be engulfed by a Venus flytrap plant emerged from the ground beside Obito. The Akatsuki cloak made it clear this new being wasn't an ally of Konoha. Good, you're here, Zetsu, Obito mentioned, noticing the new arrival. Secure Rin while I dash. Sorry boss, but this is for your own good, Zetsu said as he blew a green powder in Obito's face. What are you? Obito didn't have the chance to finish that question before he fell asleep. Zetsu managed to grab him before he could completely fall, and carried him over his shoulder, before he started to sink into the ground. Don't think this is the end, Konoha scum, Zetsu threatened as he sank. We will see again sooner than you think. And thus, Obito and Zetsu disappeared, leaving the Konoha ninja alone. An uncomfortable silence ensued. Finally, Rin began to walk towards the trio of adult ninja, followed by Tenten, Haku, Karen and the twins. "Kakashi? Is that you?" Rin asked, once he got a better look at the silver-haired man. "You're so grown up." Barely breaking out of his stupor, the copy ninja kneeled down in order to be eye-to-eye level with his thought-to-be-deceased teammate. He put a hand on her shoulder, as if testing if it was really her, and not just some cruel mirage. "Yes, I'm Kakashi," he replied. "And you how? How can you be alive?" Rin smiled, as she grabbed Kakashi's hand with her own. "It's a very long story." Asuma cleared his throat. "We should better return to Konoha immediately and treat our wounded, before any other danger appears." The moment those words left his lips, the entire lair started to violently shake. "Oh Kami, what now?" Tenten asked. "Good job Asuma-sensei, you jinxed it." Karen scolded the bearded man, while she tried not to lose her balance. A huge hole was blown up in the roof of the chamber, dropping several large rocks inside. Tsunade appeared from that hole, landing with a loud thud, shattering the ground beneath her feet. Jiraya landed beside her as well. Visibly shaken, she scanned the area until she found what she came for. "My children," the blonde Sannin cried as she rushed towards them. "Mom. Dad," the twins replied in unison as they went to hug their parents. "When they told me that you were kidnapped by Orochimaru's ninja, my entire world shattered," Tsunade said, barely holding her tears back, as she hugged her youngest children. "Thanks goodness you're all right." "I don't know what we would have done if we lost either of you," Jiraiya added, just as emotional. "It was Naruto Nizan and his friends who saved us," Hagane pointed out. "Naruto?" Tsunade gasped upon seeing her adopted son laying on the ground, motionless. Breaking the embrace, she rushed to him. "Is he?" "Don't worry, Tsunade-sama, he's okay," Hinata reassured the Sannin. "But we should better head back to Konoha. I did heal him as best as I could, but it would be better if he was treated at a hospital." Tsunade nodded at Hinata's more than sensible suggestion. Relieved to learn that his children were relatively safe, Jiraiya took a moment to study Orochimaru's hideout. "So, this is where that bastard has been hiding the whole time," Jiraiya mused aloud. He then looked at the slightly damaged snake statues. The decoration certainly fits him. "Anyway, once we reach Konoha, we need to send a team to secure the place, capture any of the remaining underlings still hiding, and search the place to see if we can find something regarding Orochimaru, Akatsuki and their plans." "Hokage-sama, Tsunade-sama," Kurenai said as she walked towards them. "Once we reach Konoha, we need to talk immediately. We've made some astounding discoveries regarding a certain Akatsuki member." Both Jiraiya and Tsunade turned at the Genjutsu mistress with genuine curiosity. Still, that had to wait. The first priority was to take the kids to Konoha, now that it was safe again. Orochimaru's new base, undisclosed location. Orochimaru and Kabuto were walking through their new base as those who survived the failed invasion attempt arrived in what would be their new home for the foreseeable future. Impure World Resurrection has proved too unreliable to use for the time being, Orochimaru began, still sour for the failure of the jutsu that thought it would be his trump card over Konoha. "Do you think that maybe Jiraiya or somebody at Konoha knows something about that jutsu that we are ignoring?" Kabuto asked. Orochimaru shook his head. "Such thing is unlikely. Nobody but me would have dared to research a jutsu that tampers with death to such depth. Even if extremely unlikely, there's the chance that Konoha ninjas found a way to bypass the infinite regeneration and permanently kill Tobirama, Minato and Kushina. However, they managed to break my hold over Hashirama, and such things should have been impossible. Our research in the past showed that somebody powerful enough can break the caster's control," Kabuto replied. "Yes, but that's why I limited their power so they could be easier to control. During all the tests I made, none of the subjects rebelled against me. We will have to continue the research, then, Kabuto concluded. Indeed. I'm not letting this mistake slip by, Orochimaru declared, undeterred. To change the topic, what about the secondary mission? Kabuto smiled. The mission was a success. Without waiting for Orochimaru to issue any order, Kabuto pulled out a small sealing scroll from one of his pockets, and unsealed a large, metallic briefcase, which he handed it to his master. Delighted, Orochimaru opened the briefcase, revealing its contents: vials of blood, brain fluid, spinal fluid, hair samples, among other things. Finally, enough biological samples of Jiraya and Tsunade's brats. This will help us in the long run immensely, Orochimaru gushed, as he closed the briefcase. While Orochimaru knew of the bloodline limits of those children, he sought to acquire them at any cost. However, he also knew that, if he kidnapped those children, their parents would never rest until they got them back. And said parents had the might of one of the strongest great villages backing them up. Hell, Jiraya and Tsunade would offer Konoha itself as a bounty for anybody that knew where those children or their captor could be. Of course, there was a much easier solution that would get Konoha out of his back for a while: harvest enough samples of them, and erase all the evidence of such thing happening. That way, Jiraya and Tsunade would relax and lower their guard, unaware that Orochimaru got his hands on not one, but two potentially powerful bloodlines. The plan's only downside was that the samples were limited, so if they were lost or degraded to the point of being unusable, he wouldn't be able to get more. But he liked to see such limitation as a challenge to his limitless genius. This victory didn't come without a cost, though, Kabuto continued. Jirobo, Kidamaru, Sakan and Yukon died while fighting an improvised rescue team that was formed to retrieve the children. Only Taiyuya and Kimimaro made out of it alive. Orochimaru grinned. Do not fret, Kabuto. While they were some of my strongest minions, only Kimimaro was truly irreplaceable. Besides, the payoff of the mission more than makes up for their sacrifice. I see, was Kabuto's reply. What do you plan to do now, Orochimaru-sama? Orochimaru's grin grew even wider, almost like a child who couldn't wait to play with his new, shiny toy. Make sure the laboratory is up and running as fast as you can. I want to analyze these samples immediately. As you wish. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.